going live. We're live now.
Are we on the air?
Yes, we're on the air.
All right, come on. Hey, that seemed kind of loud. What's power? How y'all doing?
What's up? You seem kind of loud. Hey, we already got 4 people. We need 4 likes.
Yo, how y'all doing? I'm
What's
up
up?
messing with these tickets. How we sound? Are we too loud?
Are we not loud enough?
Yeah, what's up? What's power?
What is the T? That's the only time you're gonna hear that from me. But there's a first time for everything.
I mean, yeah.
And this is that first time. So you know. Let's set this motherfucker a bit. But anywho. But yeah, today we are going to talk about this lovely, officially notarized holiday now, known as Juneteenth.
Federal holiday?
Federally syndicated holiday. That's what I call it.
I think that's.
Because I mean, honestly, it's already kind of been a holiday. Like it is, for all intents and purposes, a holiday. It's just you can actually get the day off for it.
As y'all know how we normally do this, we gonna give everybody about like 10 to 15 minutes, get they popcorn, get settled. Share this with your friends. Like it up.
Get your caskets ready.
Right.
I'm being stupid, but
Nero's on one.
I digress.
Hey, also we got tickets for the baseball game.
We have tickets,
celebrating 100 years.
Tickets.
Negro League, Evansville Otters, this Saturday.
Also, we have the Juneteenth event that will also be on Saturday between 8 to 4.
10 to 8.
10 to 8. It's from 10 to 8.
They'll probably already be out there before 10, and they'll probably still be going after 8. But 10 to 8 is like the best little window.
Right.
If you guys are going to come on down, you might want to come early so you can park.
But,
all of this is a reference to the importance Juneteenth. And the beauty that is not only Juneteenth, but Black culture.
Yes, sir.
So, if you somebody that identify as Black, or if you're somebody that identify as black, y'all,
yeah.
or even just somebody who cares and has respect for the culture,
yeah, we
would love to see y'all out there. I got tickets. Tickets. Free.
Tickets.
Free 99. Free 99.
It's something. $3.99. $3.99. $3.99. I'm gonna stop being fried. But but anyway,
Sir Nero.
Look, I know I'm wilding. Blame it on the heat.
There's gonna be food and games and other activities too as well. The actual first pitch gonna probably land around 6:30. Yep. Who's in here? Somebody check in with us. Pop in.
Let us know. Let us welcome you. Let us
share this with your friends.
Welcome you.
Share this with your family. We talking Juneteenth. We talking Black culture up in here. Mm-hmm. I know somebody got an opinion on something somewhere.
Yes, indeed. Look, y'all better say something before I start scrolling on randomly on Facebook and see something jacked up. It's gonna make me say something crazy.
Please stop him.
Please do.
Please stop him.
I've personally decided to further damage my psyche by starting to watch The Boys. I know I'm late. Don't judge me.
That's the one on Amazon, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, my soul just broken. You know what I'm saying?
Netflix has one. I think it's called Jupiter Legacy. I think.
Yeah, Jupiter's Legacy. That I heard that one's really good too. I gotta check that
Everybody out. Doing like the parody superhero stuff right now.
Hey, what's up, Keontae?
What's going on, Keontae?
What's good, G?
Shout out to Kick-Ass and movies like that, kind of
for deconstructing
starting the trend of that. Yeah,
I like that a lot of these are an accurate deconstruction of the superhero genre. Interesting thing about that is that me and my granddaddy was talking about things like superheroes and stuff, and how he used to actually be an avid collector of comic books back in the day. Like, had the Superman comics, the Batman comics, Green Hornet, all them. Nice. He still be cranking out the westerns and whatnot. He still be watching them joints.
Please like and share this thing.
For reference, my grandfather's 83, so put 2 and 2 together with that. But so he, so he know about the old ones. Now he gave up around 60s, 70s because he had kids. whatnot. But
life will do that to you.
life will do that to you. Life is an interesting thing, but it's cool when you can like sit down and talk with one of the elders about that and reminisce on things. Speak to your elders. Yeah, I know they get on our nerves. Mine get on mine too, but it's good to do. It's good for you. It's good for your children in the future, because it's the passage of knowledge, it's the passage of understanding, it's the passage of history. And for this historical moment, this is something that a lot of our elders are going to see and be like, yo, they actually made it happen.
We got 4 people in here. Can we get 4 likes?
4 likes. We just need.
How y'all doing? Check in.
2 of y'all can just like it twice. I wish, but yeah, man.
Share this, y'all. Share it.
That's actually been kind of the interesting thing about the situation I'm currently in with, both my grandparents being in recovery, like recovering physically. Okay, not like recovery. They ain't on it. But
man,
don't start no rumors, man. I don't want to get a phone call, bro. Like, cause I'll get a phone call before tomorrow's even here. But anyway, I really will, bro. Y'all know. But it's been interesting because I've gotten to kind of, poke their brains, dig into their psyche about certain things, like certain experiences that they had in life and stuff that, sometimes you just don't normally talk about. It's interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with the whole Juneteenth thing, like what their perception is of it, what their perception of a lot of things that's going on in the world is, shoot. Well, we could get my granddaddy on here and he'd probably be able to dish a lot of dirt about the VA hospital. We ain't gonna talk about that.
Did you run that up? I don't know why that sound like that jumped up. How do we sound? Can anybody tell us how we sound?
Are we good?
Just want to make sure we're not too loud as far as voices or as far as the music.
Right. Just want to make sure we're all right.
We just waiting for more people to get in. Y'all know how this go.
Yep.
About
we only
15 minutes in or so, or about 7 minutes from now, we gonna start.
Oh, I thought you saying that we was 15 minutes in. I'm like, it's 7:38.
Nah.
It's not even been like that.
Share this with your friends and family. That one Hotep conscious family member.
Yep.
Brother, this is like this, and and we got to stick together.
The ones, the ones that look at you funny whenever you come back with a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Oh,
they low-key want one, but they don't want to tell you that.
You see Popeyes.
Oh my God.
Y'all don't get me started.
Bruh, they be wilding, bruh. They just be like, I don't understand. Why are you out here, partaking of the devil's chicken sandwiches?
Oh, y'all using this light here?
Bruh.
The white man made this light right here. Are you sure you want to use that light, brother?
Sticks. And I was like, you just need sticks and sage. Just run it together and get your scented candles.
Oh, you like bacon? I know you ain't eating no bacon.
Bro, if you don't go burn sage somewhere.
We got 6 people in here. Hey, y'all, like this up, please,
likes.
And thank you.
Look, be like, bro.
Please share it as well. We want to get as many people in this discussion. Everybody feel a type of way about Juneteenth. Hello. Look. How you doing?
I mean,
how you doing, Miss Randy?
We want to know. What's good? I don't think you've been with us before. What's up?
Good evening.
We like to see new faces here.
Definitely like y'all. Share this as well.
Yep.
We want to get as many people on this as possible. Anybody from any walk of life. But tonight we're talking Juneteenth. So all the black people, find them.
Well, look, what is your perception on Juneteenth? I know you just got here, but
whether they in the cushions, whether they around the corner.
Right.
The official discussion gonna start in a few minutes, y'all. Right. So
get your questions ready.
Get your questions for sure.
But yes, thank you for coming on, Miss Randy. We haven't had you here today, so we're happy to see a new face. We appreciate it.
Power.
Also, we might have a poll up soon when we learn how to do that, so y'all can tell us, where y'all heard of us from. We want to know.
Oh, I know how to do it.
Oh well,
It's just a matter.
We gonna do that.
Look, this is a matter.
Okay, we got 3 likes. We need 3 more.
Help us out, y'all. We got 4, sir.
Oh, word.
Catch up. We got 4.
It takes a second for mine.
Also, y'all, anybody that likes baseball, this Saturday, Juneteenth, in the evening, Bossy Field. This right here is a ticket to the Evansville Otters game, celebrating 100 years of the Negro League baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I got free tickets. If you know where I work, come and get them. I'm not telling y'all where I work on the stream because ain't none of your business.
You know.
I got plenty.
If you don't, then well, sucks for you.
There'll also be games. There'll be food and even fireworks. Bring your family. Bring the kids.
Bring the kids. Look, you're always looking for something to do with your babies. This is something you can do with your babies.
Yep.
Go ahead and bring the babies in. Go ahead. Okay, can you give us a little history on Juneteenth for those who don't know about it? Educate a little if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind at all. We don't mind at all. And we will here in just a few minutes. We're just letting everybody come on in before we get really cracking on the discussion.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get deep into that. Thank you. I'm glad that you.
Thank you for the suggestion as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, y'all definitely share this with your friends. Get people in a discussion. We want to talk to y'all. Right. That's what this live stream is for. That's what these live streams are for.
Yeah, I'm about to say the podcast we can talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, we do the podcast. That's just me and this guy.
Yeah.
But this is for y'all. Right. We want to hear all the other opinions out there that do exist.
Cause see, that's the difference. Y'all can actually listen and talk back.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Wait until we start having y'all call in and stuff.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
This is the precursor.
Can't wait for that, man. Cause I already know it's gonna be lit. Got
6 people in here. If you haven't liked the video already, please like it. This helps YouTube know that we matter to somebody. It also helps us get money so we can make the episodes better and more frequent for you guys. So definitely support. Likes are free. Sharing is free. It don't cost $1. Please and thank you.
Likes don't cost a thing. Hey. Please don't nobody leave because I was being corny. Don't judge me.
We do be a little silly on here because this is a relaxed conversation.
We try no
debate. We just discuss things with y'all.
We like to talk to y'all.
Probably gonna start here in about a couple minutes or so. I hope everybody's having a good week. I hope y'all got plans for Juneteenth. Even if y'all family don't really celebrate it because they either don't know or just don't really care enough. Because let's be real, that's
sometimes
a real thing.
It be like that.
Shoot, if you off, cook something. It's gonna be a hot day that day. Last I checked,
bro, it's been a hot.
It's already summer.
I'm about to say it's been a hot day for the last 3 weeks. It probably is going to be. If not, we're probably gonna get rained on. I mean, there really ain't no dividing line there. Like,
true.
It's always one or the other. Just oh god.
Hopefully
Speaking of such, just a bad time. How y'all been feeling about this heat? If you live in the southern Indiana area
or further south,
bro.
If you further south, I know you burnt.
My God, man, it's been rough, dog. It has been rough, bro. I'm feeling like I'm dying everywhere I go, bro. It's been crazy.
Man, hey, I've been keeping the water bottle. You know what I mean? I've been keeping the water bottle on me.
Bro, you have to.
You got to.
Yes, Keontae said, staying in the cave. Look, bro, I wish I could, man. I wish I could.
The perils of working with the people. Unfortunately.
I mean, look, and the problem is my folks be getting cold too easily, so they be having it kind of warm in their little spot right now. And every time I go in, I may as well be going from heat to slightly less heat. And I'm just sitting there. They're like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Right. You got to fake it till you make it.
Yeah, right.
Because you can't be like, man, can y'all turn on the air? Nope.
I'm good, dog.
You will be stoned.
I ain't gonna get stoned. I'll just be kindly asked to leave. Like, He'd be like, look, you be all right.
Also, you guys, for those of y'all who live in Evansville, Indiana, this Saturday, there's a Juneteenth event off Riverside near R&K gas station.
Yo,
okay?
Is there a way I could put that picture in there?
Probably not in the chat, but you can link it in the description. We will have links to everything that's going on as far as the events. Yeah. There's also our link at the very top of the chat. If you guys want to know anything that's Black in a Minute as far as events, that's also where the new merch is going to be at, etc. We will have links in the description and stuff for y'all to click on regarding some of the stuff we're talking about, including the baseball game and Juneteenth off Riverside Drive here in Evansville, Indiana. It's going to be a bunch of Black-owned businesses and merchants. There's going to be plenty of food, live music as well. We're going to be tearing it up. Basically a big-ass cookout.
Let's see. Also for those references. Yeah, I was about to. For those who'll be in the area tomorrow, what I just posted was actually a link to a show that I'm going to be hosting called the Summer Series, Intro to the Vibe. It's going to be the first in a series of shows that's going to be going from now until about September. Each show is going to have a different lineup, various different artists, various different genres, things of that nature. We're going to try and be on the rooftop. Look. I done got the call that like Mayor might be tripping because he worried about the noise and stuff, but we ain't gonna be in no band. So I mean, we should be all right.
About the noise.
Yeah, because apparently he lives over by there. Which, I mean, it's kind of your choice. But that's neither here nor there. So hopefully we can stay on the rooftop until such time that we can't be on the rooftop because it's too cold. So we're going to take advantage of these warm days, get elevated, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, admission is free. Donations are encouraged. So, and everything that you do donate will be supporting the artists. We did have a shift change. Ray Doja will unfortunately no longer be on that particular program. She'll probably be on one of the later ones. But we do have a nice replacement. Her name is Madame Petite. She's really dope. Really nice person too. She got a good soul. Like I appreciate that. And of course it's gonna be yours truly, my homie Sonny Toure, Zachariah TBM, which is one of his homies, and then it's gonna be hosted by my boy Julian Washington, aka Jew, aka Arrow. You know, my man's be rocking with the comedy night, trying to get into the music, man. We trying to be multifaceted out here.
Hey.
Man. So we grinding now, you know.
Well, y'all, it's time. Let's get it going. So, y'all see the title. Happy Juneteenth. Happy early Juneteenth, because the pod is coming out tonight. Yeah. The audio podcast will probably be out sometime tomorrow or Saturday at the latest. Yeah. For those that miss this version, for those that don't have the time or want to rehear some of this. But, y'all see the title. Happy Juneteenth.
Yes, sir.
Progress or pandering? Ooh. That's the question.
Ooh.
I came up with the title, by the way. Man, I had that title as soon as I thought about it. Let me tell y'all, before we really get into the topic, I want to give y'all a little backstory for those of y'all who don't know. And when I say a little backstory, this is the compact, quick for dummies version. If you really want to know the history of Juneteenth, I encourage you to actually do some research.
Yes.
Don't just take it all from me. But the basis of Juneteenth is simply, Juneteenth is what, up until this legislation that came out, was recognized as the true day of real independence and emancipation of the slaves being free.
Yep.
Now, the reason why that matters is because we're often told that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Mm-hmm. And to a degree, that's what happened, but it wasn't quite for that reason.
Right.
He had his own other reasons to which slavery didn't really make sense to the economics of where the economy was going.
Yeah.
And the system of the government was going.
They didn't have the North did not have a vested interest in slavery because it had no part of their infrastructure.
Sure. So basically, he was like, yo, we got to axe this. The problem is, though, is that not everybody was privy or really on board to the concept of that.
Right. I think in some places it took months,
several
months for the message to actually go down the pipeline and reach various other states
exactly.
for them to actually realize that they was free.
And that's the significance of the Juneteenth part, because the emancipation happened approximately about 2 years prior. Yes. But a lot of the places in the South either weren't on board and or just like, whatever.
Yep.
Specifically Texas being one of those places.
Yes,
that's
true.
And there was also a war fought practically over these slaves. You may be familiar with it. It's called the Civil War. That's a whole nother conversation. But if you don't know that had something to do with slaves, also do some research on the Civil War as well. I won't tell you who won. I think you might know enough to know who won.
That and another interesting thing that needs to be noted. Look, I'm just going to tell the truth since we are going to be having Juneteenth and we need to reveal a lot of the truth. Don't gas up Abe Lincoln too much.
No.
He did that because he had a vested interest in freeing the slaves because, one, that was going to weaken the Southern infrastructure. Two, that was going to offer advantages to the Northern armies. Three, the northern part of America had no usage for slaves, but their efforts, even with the advent of child labor, was ultimately circumvented and surpassed by slavery. A lot of the reason that the North wanted the South is because while the North had the infrastructure and the industry and they pioneered that, the South had the crops, the irrigation, they had the agricultural advantage. So getting the South back into the fold and basically derailing their primary workforce was something that was definitely in favor for them to do.
Juneteenth didn't really get sparked back up to a point of real relevance until the 60s and early 70s during the Civil Rights Movement, in which it gained a lot more of its relevance due to people such as the Malcolm X, the Martin Luther Kings, the Stokely Carmichaels, the James Baldwins,
used to
the Ida B. Wells, the Rosa Parks, and many other civil rights leaders, advocates, and what we typically refer to as freedom fighters and activists.
Absolutely.
And so with a lot of that,
the Garvey Acts as well.
Came in.
Well, that came earlier.
The culture.
Right.
The culture of celebrating Black culture. And a huge core of that was what we know today of as Juneteenth. Now, not everybody's family was getting down with Juneteenth just because of the lack of education. You know, one of the things that is known about Black culture is the fact that there's so much that isn't, right? And Juneteenth is kind of one of those things.
Right.
Okay.
One interesting thing that was noted, anybody who's heard of Paul Robeson, there was actually not an audio biography, but a biography written about him. I still have not finished that yet. My uncle had sparked the interest in me to finish that. But towards the beginning of it, he was talking about how he was born in 1898, I believe. And him and his father and his siblings, his older siblings, all lived in a southern area, in which his father was a preacher, a pastor. What they said is that basically as Reconstruction happened, Reconstruction was a half measure. In that, yes, the Northerners did come to the Southerners and they did do a little bit of work to rebuild the buildings, to rebuild certain parts to help with the infrastructure, certain things to, areas that were destroyed or ravaged as a result of the Civil War, the war between the states, as they said. But once they did that, even though emancipation was well and in effect, there were no laws that were put out, like associated laws that were put out to actually support and, back up a lot of the things that were said with emancipation. So yeah, the slaves were free, you're free, but you could still be refused employment. At will termination was definitely a thing in a way worse than it is now. You could still get ran out of your place, which is exactly what happened with Paul Robeson's father.
Actually, I want to say something to that too. Little piece of my own personal family history. My great grandfather was actually ran out of his place.
Yeah.
My great grandfather, who I'm actually named after, basically got approached by the KKK because a white man tried to basically take his land and his home away from him. And he ended up putting him in his place.
He showed him the error of his ways.
Oh, very much so. And they had a group of them, and they came pretty much back to the property and told him, hey, you got one or two choices. Either leave and never come back, or we'll kill you and your whole family. And so
that's crazy.
It's because of those decisions that unfortunately had to be made at such a dynamic time in America's history.
Yep.
That I'm able to be on this podcast and speak my piece to y'all.
Absolutely.
So,
the interesting thing about that, and Keontae, I'm gonna get to what you said. Well, okay, I'll read it. Keontae said, I didn't know about it at all until I saw it on an episode of Blackish a few years ago. Right. And it's good that there are these type of outlets for that. But the interesting thing about Reconstruction, just because we're talking about Juneteenth and it's relevant.
Yeah.
Because what you realize is that this is the beginning of even Juneteenth itself, like being established as a thing as it happened before it becoming a holiday. It's the first of many half measures that were delivered on a silver platter to the Black community. Reconstruction was another one. Like I said, they built stuff and then they left. And then after they left, there was no laws or statutes or anything that was built up to really have people like, to be like, y'all can't do this with Black people. Y'all can't do this with Black people. They are equal to you. Y'all have equal rights. Y'all have equal rights to employment. They have equal rights to certain amenities. They have equal rights to all these things. None of that was done. It was just like, okay, we rebuilt your stuff. Slaves are free. Have fun.
Basically.
And that's pretty much what happened. They ran this man they ran this man's father out of his church, out of his parish, and they had to move out, leave, and go elsewhere and be taken in by another church somewhere else and basically live off the streets for a little bit. And that's literally how these things happen. It was things where the congregation didn't want to let him go. It was the surrounding people around, like the communities and other people like that. And there were no defenses against this. There was nothing to protect you,
And see, that's important.
Yes.
I encourage all of you guys, sometimes it's as simple as just asking.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to get told that story. As soon as I needed to hear it, but it was perfect timing when I did hear it, because it would influence a lot of the decisions that I would make going forward. Once I found that out, it also influenced a lot of the person that I am today.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to Black culture and Black dynamics in general. So, with that being said, the question of progress or pandering comes up to mind a lot when it comes to Black culture and what we like to view as these these symbolic gestures that are offered and given to us as a culture.
Right.
These little favors, if you will.
Yeah. Consolation prizes.
There you go. Thank you. Consolation prizes that are bestowed upon Black culture. And it begs to question, are these signs that we are, as a culture, are progressing, or are they just pandering?
Yes.
or basically placating to our feelings.
So that way we shut up and don't say nothing.
Right. Are they just simply trying to pacify us for one reason or another?
Right.
That's not just the question that both me and Nero have posed to ourselves. That's also the question that we're posing to you guys in the chat.
Right. What are your thoughts about that? Because to be honest, in a lot of ways, a lot of things have been done in the spirit of pandering towards the black community, towards a lot of other community. Yes, Keontae said it depends on whose idea it was. I like that. I like that because of the fact that that is true. That is very true. One thing you learn even with Malcolm X is he got put in a lot of situations where they tried to even put him up against certain black leaders, quote unquote, who were more what we would consider intersectional.
Such as
they believed in intersectionality or inclusive or further inclusivity with other white movements.
King is the greatest example of that, but also Dick Gregory, because he was around during that time as well, and he was another person like that.
And even and the interesting thing, even with King, is that even he got burned out on the concept of intersectionality towards the end of his life. People don't talk about those speeches. People don't bring up those speeches, but it is very true.
Paraphrasing, he said, I feel like I may have integrated my people into a burning house.
Yeah.
Keontae said, but also either way, I'm sure a lot of black people feel like, why now? So here's my thing. When we talk about whose idea it was,
I'm glad you said that.
The thing with idea is you can have an idea for something, right? But not have a just intent with that.
Yeah.
Like I could say, I think we should do this. And that might not be on the onus that I generally want something great to come of it. Like I could pose an idea for something, but not be truly invested in what it actually is.
Absolutely.
And then at that point, it's a conversation of motive, right? So back to the other part you said, but either way, I'm sure a lot of people feel like, black people feel like, why now? Well, let me tell you, as I was perusing some of the social media, seeing some of the different opinions, it was very split. Because on one end of the spectrum, you got plenty of black people like, for what? We didn't ask for this.
Right.
Juneteenth, we already celebrated Juneteenth for those that already did. Other people was just like, we didn't ask for this. Another common opinion that many of people of the culture and even others had is, how is this helpful?
Right. What does it do?
And
And it's not like it's not a question that should be asked.
It's definitely relevant. Yes.
Yeah, man. Hold on. The funniest thing about this is I'm not gonna say what area this is because I ain't gonna ball myself out. But I do have a little Facebook thing where I see where we talk about like this store that I'm a part of, and it's like different people from different regions, and one of them said, "Will the store recognize Juneteenth?" And bro, first answer I seen in a list is because somebody was stupid. I mean, man.
Go ahead.
Look, somebody played themselves.
It ain't on the screen, so go ahead and run it. Run it.
Yeah, I'm about to run it.
These are some of the opinions that are out there.
Bro. As soon as I found it.
For those of y'all who doubting the power of social media.
Dang, this was dark. Somebody said it took a pandemic to recognize Easter. Maybe next pandemic. Jesus. That's rough.
And he's just reading a few comments from Facebook.
Yeah, what folks is saying, bro. What people is saying. This one was just an uninformed answer. Somebody said, silly question, not even an official holiday. For those of you too young to remember, June 14th, notice that, used to be Flag Day and was an official federal holiday. That's gone and hardly anyone remembers. Why would a made-up holiday, no matter how legitimate, be celebrated by the company? And somebody was like, just a question, how is it made up? Somebody said Flag Day is June 14th. It's like Juneteenth is a federal holiday now. And somebody said this year Biden made it a national holiday and June 19th was the day the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. It's like, yes, it is. And it's been a long time coming. Signing a law today, emancipation of African-American slaves. Somebody said, can't help dumb people. Look,
also
going in, look, just folk going in And it's just like, so while the U.S. was celebrating their freedom on July 4th, 1776, we were still forced to be slaves for the next 89 years.
Yes.
And didn't truly become free until June 19th, 1865.
Yes.
And somebody made a good point. They said the Emancipation Proclamation was January 1st, 1863. But like we said, it took 2 years.
Yeah, two and a half
years for everybody to see it and truly recognize it.
Here's my thing, right?
I'm like,
one of those comments
the fact
you
that
said,
somebody said you can't help stupid people.
One of those comments you said, though, said, made up holiday. The logic of that, every holiday is made up. So,
it's made up by somebody.
This is what I need y'all to be careful of on the internet. This is with anything, but specifically for my fellow black folk that feel the need to be on the internet arguing with anybody, whether that be other black folks, whether that be other walks of life.
You might have to.
Okay, understand this. There's a wide range of opinions and types of people on the internet.
Absolutely.
It's never worth that kind of energy. If you want to have conversations, discussions, shameless plug, hop on the Black in a Minute podcast in the chat. Soon we'll be taking guests as well. Yep. But also, some opinions just don't deserve to be entertained when the logic is absent.
Yeah.
Because feelings are one thing. Feelings are cool.
But just saying dumb stuff and just like regurgitating it over and over just because you think you're right is stupid.
It doesn't move the conversation any forward.
It's word vomit. It's word vomit.
Pretty much.
And that's literally what you're seeing with a lot of stuff. That's what I see with a lot of, I hate to box y'all out, but I don't think there's anybody in here. That's what I see with a lot of Trump supporters. It's word vomit. Like when you really confront them and talk to them about, hey man, why do you feel this way about this person? Why do you feel this way about this individual? They just vomit out stuff. And, and most of the time it's very incoherent. Most of the time it doesn't have any connection to anything for real.
Usually.
Most of the time they make references to the same things. It's like it's like when you it's almost like when you choose to be a Trump supporter, somebody comes to your house the next day, gives you a pamphlet that has
like all the things you're supposed to say
and gives you a set of bullet points.
Right, if they say this, you say this.
It's like that Miranda rights card that they give you. It's like if you are put in a situation where you have to have a conversation with a liberal snowflake, here is a bullet point of things that may help you to resolve that conversation in a quick and timely manner.
Yep.
I'm like, Jesus, what do y'all just all read the same Bible, I guess. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering what's going on.
But you know what though? Let me play devil's advocate for a minute, because as a coach, I see this other part of these discussions a lot. I think we get to a point though where, how do I put this? Sometimes I think we step away from the realisticness, and that ain't even a word. The real aspect of life when it comes to things being changed in our society. And I say that to say sometimes I think it's okay for us to feel good about some of these things. Hear me out. Juneteenth being recognized as a holiday.
National holiday, yeah.
As small as many people may feel it is,
right?
As pandering as you may feel it is,
because you be valid in feeling that way. I mean,
this is another way to think about it, though. Did they have to do that? Like, if we're gonna get in that, they have to or don't have to do this or that, right?
Right. Dude,
how are we deciding like
whether
when that logic comes into play?
Right.
Right.
What is the statute of limitations for that?
Right, because it's just like, wait a minute. Did they really have to do that?
Right. Or was it in the and in a lot of cases I resolve it like this. When you look at certain things, you have to look at certain things logically. Is it in their interest to kick against this sort of thing? Or is it in their interest to do things that appeal to not only minorities in general, but also to the black community as a whole? Because here's the interesting thing about this when we talk about timing. Because this is something that might bother some folks, but this is just literally me observing. It's an observation.
Talk to him.
This is literally coming on the heels of not only the most recent iteration of Juneteenth, which will be on this Saturday, but also this is coming in the direct aftermath of the Stop Asian Hate movement, which in a lot of cases was precipitated as being something where we as the Black community had a significant degree of hatred or vitriol towards the Asian community.
We were the perpetrators.
We
were portrayed that way primarily.
The thing about that is that doesn't make sense to me. Like, the reason it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not saying there ain't no Black folks that got issues with Asian folks. That's not true. That would be a lie. That would be a fallacy. But at the same time, we don't do that at an overt rate.
But not even just that, right?
We
now
really
you saw.
don't.
I know you saw the story about the little boy that went in the yard.
Yeah, bruh.
So look, this is where like, hey, I gotta get me like a conspiracy hat. I'm gonna have like a conspiracy tinfoil hat for y'all, cocked to the side like I'm T.I. or some shit, just for the fuck of it. That's gonna be a segment, new idea.
Look, and my main thing about that first thing, and honestly, even with that, you know what the first thing was that I thought of when I seen that story and I heard what was talked about?
What's that?
I didn't think of that man being like, oh, this Asian motherfucker. No, I was like, bro, this dude's a coward.
Look,
like,
Deontay said.
Look, here's my thing. First and foremost, go ahead.
I'm gonna read this real quick.
Yeah,
I agree. Some don't celebrate the 4th. For some, this will be a holiday they may feel worth celebrating,
as they should, because for us, like, in a lot of ways, a lot of us feel like 4th of July is for them because it applies logically to them.
Hey,
it doesn't apply logically.
If you ever felt that way, look, this is safe
wrong
space.
About that.
If you ever felt that way about 4th of July, you can politely raise your hand or type a 1 in the chat. I'll raise my hand because, to be honest, my family, we celebrated it, but not like that. We were nowhere near consistent. Some people celebrate that shit every year. Like some Black families to this day celebrate that every year. Some of them even celebrate that now under the guise that Juneteenth exists.
Yes.
I don't judge them. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
But we never
That's what
like
you do though. Like, I mean, you know, look, my whole thing is it was never widely celebrated in my family, but the awareness of what it is going to encourage me whenever I have a family. We're going to celebrate that. We're going to talk about it. Because honestly, to me, once you learn enough about certain things in history, your perspective changes about it. When you gain knowledge about things, your perspective changes about it. And like I was saying about that whole incident with that man shooting that boy, especially when I realized he never left his house. He popped him through the window. First thing I'm thinking of is like, yo, this dude's a coward. I don't care what race you are. If anybody did that to a child over a minor discrepancy, that's cowardice. That's not a man to me, as we would say. That's not a man. That's a male. That is a fully grown male.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that in some ways, I'll say it like this, because I did just get asked about this. I don't really feel no ways either way about it. I don't feel bad about it. I don't necessarily feel good about it either way. But it's good to see that it's being nationally recognized. Maybe there's something that can come of it. For me personally, I can understand both sides. I can understand why some people feel like it's a form of pandering. I can understand why some people perceive it as a small victory. And there's nothing wrong with us perceiving it as a small victory because Lord knows we need one.
I think, though, if we're going to have these debates like some people are doing right now, like Facebook and Instagram.
Bro, yeah.
Because all y'all got to do is find like one of these posts that announces it.
Just
go on Facebook and find a post that announces it.
I ain't
and
even
look at the comment section. You gonna see a lot of ish in there. Not just from Black folk. Of course, you're gonna see some stuff from, white folks as well. Other races too as well. But primarily the conversations, of course, are being had between Black folks and other Black folks, and of course, white folks as well.
Right.
Bruh, do you know? Let me tell you. I had somebody come in my job the other day. Now, I was walking in the opposite direction because, and I BS y'all not, this type of stuff usually happens not in front of me. It is what it is. I don't say that to boast, brag, or, suggest anything about me or those people. But this guy literally asked, so is Black Lives Matter? Is that stuff over with? And he asked this to one of my coworkers, and she was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I just remember seeing a lot of Black Lives Matter stuff here. I guess you guys are done supporting that." She's like, "I'm not sure what you're talking about. You know, it's not really a thing that ever ended. No. But as a company, we haven't openly, in some massive way, supported that."
Right.
She's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." It's like I was just making sure because we don't have time for any of that terrorist stuff. A couple days ago, that took place.
See, this is why I'm a term person. This is why I have a significant problem. Me
too.
With people just using words and not knowing what they mean. I know I'm peeking in the mic, but it's serious. If you are going to say a word, at least have a basic understanding of the context and the meaning of the word.
Facts.
That's not terrorism.
No.
Running up in niggas' houses and shooting them and then saying oops because you came for the wrong person and then thinking you should get amnesty for it is terrorism. That's government sanctioned terrorism. Cough, cough, Breonna Taylor. Okay? Shooting a random kid in the middle of a street because he had a pop gun and you thought he was a legitimate threat as a 13-year-old is terrorism. That is legally sanctioned terrorism. Cough, cough, Tamir Rice. Need I say more? Running up on a kid because you want to think that you're the king of the neighborhood watch and you ain't even been inducted yet and you don't have the ability to make a citizen's arrest and you decide to jump him and shoot him in the head that ain't even government sanctioned terrorism. That's just you. That's just some crazy white dude running around killing folk.
So look, so to the pandering though,
bro,
to more of the pandering.
Oh,
here's the thing.
God.
I hear some black people responding like, "Hey, yo, they're not even teaching it in the curriculum."
Exactly.
You know, some places are refusing it in the curriculum.
Which somebody did say that. They said
valid point.
It was kind of weird. It's like y'all ain't gonna teach it in the curriculum, but you want the holiday off. So they're just gonna be walking around confused as to why they have the day off.
Why are we celebrating this? Right.
Right. Look, just like Columbus Day, because none of us understood why Columbus Day
existed. Even though some people in some places do celebrate it, and they went through a whole rebranding. That's what I'm calling it, a rebranding to Indigenous Peoples Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then back on what we talking about here with Juneteenth.
They ain't do no true re-education of the horrors that came as a result of those indigenous people being held under the thumb of Spain and various other European countries. Though they ain't do nothing about educating people about the res. They ain't do anything about educating people about the effects of these European white people running up on these brown people and saying, "Hey, here's some pearls and all this other junk. Let's give you." It's like, give us your gold, and then as soon as you run out of gold, well, I guess we're gonna have to use you as a resource. Pull the blicky out and pop a couple people, kill a couple babies, take over a whole entire town, rinse and repeat. And that happened for 200 to 300 years until they realized that it was more profitable and cheaper to actually utilize and take African slaves, and then the process goes on. So that's the thing. Something I just seen. Shout out to one of my homies on Facebook because I'm scrolling. He said, I ain't gonna say his name unless you want me to. He ain't on here. If you hate the omission of the real horrors of slavery from your children's history books, but still can't see the value of having Juneteenth federally recognized as an official holiday, I wish you could look up from your hurt long enough to think straight. No one said we had to stop here at this point. And that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't have to stop here. They might want it to stop here. They might think it will, because they think that they can blink it away, just like they tried to blink away the pandemic, even though niggas are still getting sick. But people are still dying, y'all. Look, and here's my thing: they try to blink away everything. So it's just like, look. This is a half measure, but it doesn't have to stay a half measure.
Facts.
That's the thing that's the thing we have to understand. One thing that I've come to understand is that if you make it a vested interest of the government, of the ruling class, to hear you out, to hear your voice, and to understand what it is you're trying to do. Otherwise, they ain't gonna get them votes. They ain't gonna get no money. They ain't gonna get them lobbyists on their sides. They're not gonna get those amenities that they want, and they can't have those cushy vacations. Guess what? Some stuff gets done. Why do you like on a real level, people don't think about this. But why do you think gay marriage got passed? It's not because all of a sudden politicians decided to have a heart and be like, well, you know, that is true.
He talking.
They do deserve.
I better be listening. He talking.
You know, they have a voice, and maybe we could, we can make an exception. I mean, I don't really like none of them, but I mean, we can make an exception. No, it's because the lobbyists came through, and a lot of those people who were spending money mobilized and organized. Notice those two words: mobilized and organized. Put themselves together under a common banner and said, "You will do what we say because we are the American people."
Yeah, I mean,
that's how they get what they want. That's how any group gets what they want.
Look, I'm gonna be frank.
Yeah.
I know it's Pride Month.
Oh Lord.
Shout out to y'all and those who identify. For me though,
you got to say something about that.
For me though, Juneteenth is this Saturday, and everything that I've been doing leading up into that day and after has been all about my blackness first.
Yes, sir.
Before my sexual preference, before identity or any of that other kind of stuff.
Look,
I care about being black. So that's what we talking about tonight.
Look,
I know it's y'all month.
Right.
But we're gonna talk about this blackness too.
Well, and the thing about it is this is just the way I've seen it, because I've seen a lot of comparisons to the civil rights movement for that. Here's my thing. No matter what you choose to be, no matter what you feel led to be, and this is not just talking about sexual preferences, this is talking about religious preferences, this is talking
all
about
of the above,
relationship preferences, this is talking about work preferences, political preferences, all of these preferences that we have, all of these proclivities that we have, that we are entitled to. Before all of those, if you look like this, you black first.
Primary.
And you will always be seen as black first, which means what? You will automatically be perceived as some measure of a threat because you are black first. I don't care if you are the nicest, kindest, most decent, most mannerable black person in the world. All they are waiting for is the moment that you finally decide that you want to flex that attitude a little bit and say something that is going to scare them a little bit. Let that little hood baby out for like 2.2 seconds. All of a sudden, they all looking at you like, I know because I've seen it. I know because I've experienced it.
Hey, working in retail, you see a lot of those type of dynamics play out on the day to day.
Yes.
Like I've spoken before in past live streams and stuff, and so is Nero. Yep. Y'all don't. There's so many things. Once. And y'all in the chat, y'all know too, whether y'all want to share them or not.
Right.
Because we ain't getting ain't that many people commenting just yet, but
yeah, we're gonna get
there are so many things that simply having this shade to you attributes
absolutely
in modern day isn't all positive. Before somebody mistakes you for a man or a woman, they're gonna definitely know you black if you got any kind of real tint to your skin. And even sometimes when it's very vague or light or opaque,
they definitely gonna be looking at you trying to question it.
So when we talk about the progressive side, a little bit of the progress and the pander at the same time, I hear a lot of people suggesting other things instead of what this was. And let me tell y'all something. While I love some of the ideas that people came up with that they feel were better things to do,
right?
We have to acknowledge that these better things to do have more moving parts.
Yes.
That's important because a lot of people talking about reparations.
Right.
A lot of people keep bringing up reparations, and I'm with y'all.
Right.
And this might not even be a popular opinion.
It's another part of the process.
This might not even be a popular opinion amongst black culture.
Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, for me, I used to feel this way. I used to feel that all black people were entitled to reparations. Now I don't. But you know who I do feel are entitled to reparations? My uncle, who's damn near 70.
Right.
Some of my other elders, your elders, like people of those generations, the grandchildren, and for the few that still exist, the children of some of those people who would have lived to experience those times and periods. I never had to worry about drinking out of a color fountain.
Right.
I don't know that life. I never had to worry about getting hosed walking down the street.
Yes.
I don't know that life.
Hold on. What you disagree with, bro? You got to clarify that because sometimes the chats come late.
Yeah, go ahead. This
Like-
is
like
me,
we-
speak,
like
this
we
is
not-
me
we not-
speaking my piece.
Yeah,
and like I said, I know it's not popular
Right, like,
opinion,
look,
and I don't care.
Right. Look,
But
we're
that's
not
okay, though.
singling you out. It's literally because
Well,
sometimes it pops up.
He the first person. It is what it is.
Yeah. It just
But
pops up sometimes. This is
I
like,
don't.
okay.
I don't feel personally that all black people are entitled to that because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how logically do you even quantify that?
Well,
Because I hear it. I hear that. Listen,
to be-
I hear it all the
right.
time. But what I'm not hearing is actual structural
Numbers
plans
and-
that make sense.
yes,
I have not heard that yet.
And the honest thing is they're trying to
Not from any black people
it's
saying
ham-
it.
that
I
ni-
sure haven't.
that and even some of the stuff that they've been talking about has been real ham-fisted because a lot of what they're trying to do is they're trying to give it to certain communities or housing firms
Bruh,
or
do you
different
know-
things like that, which is ham-fisted because that means you're basically just giving it. You're basically just passing the rock
For those of
because
y'all
you
who
don't
don't know
want to
that,
directly deal with it, which is
I'm gonna tell you
stupid.
something though. Do you know?
honestly, I feel like we waited too long.
I meant to send this as a message. And I do agree with that too. We waited too long.
Mhm.
In Chicago,
Mhm.
out like near the suburbs, a lot of the people within the community are organizing to essentially pay back reparations to people there.
Okay.
So there is a way that you can do it to a
Right.
degree, at least on a smaller level, but no one has presented
anything
a
truly
thorough plan that makes logical sense.
solid. Right.
The most thorough plan I heard was Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Okay.
And he actually was met with opposition from a guy named
Okay, he gave his response. I'm sorry. He said it's affected so many. Giving something to someone who's old in age is pointless and doesn't help us as a whole.
but neither does giving it to people who weren't accosted in that way.
Right.
So like look,
it's
there
a
were
hard
people-
thing to.
people from the 60s and the 70s had to deal with something. At least I can speak from a local more so perspective of where I'm from. And this wasn't the only place that this happened, but there
No.
was this process called redlining. Which also had to do with gentrification as well, where they were essentially making it hard for people to even be able to live and get the right kind of.
They did that here.
Do you know exactly what I'm talking about?
Actually, if for a lot of people that don't know, if you want to know the reason why most black people always end up going to either Harrison or Bosse's districts, it is primarily because if you know where Lincoln High School is, they set up the district lines in a way to where all the black folk had to go to Lincoln because that was the only high school at one point. So they never changed a lot of those boundaries. Those boundaries haven't been changed that much since my grandfather got out of high school, which was in 1956. So that means that those same boundaries have been in place for almost 70 years.
How do you? This is my question to you, Keontae.
Right.
And I'm definitely not asking for the most thorough and sought out answer because I still have yet to hear it from anybody, including people who are more dignified, who are more what shall I say, who are in higher credential, etc.
People who know.
How
more than
do
we
you quantify what is reparations? What
Yeah.
does that exactly look like? And how do we all get it?
Yeah.
How do we all get it in a way that helps us to how we need to be helped?
See, the only way.
How do you quantify that?
Look, see, the only way that I could have thought about it, where it would have worked, because they wrote themselves. Look, they put themselves in a corner. What white folks should have did was they should have started at Reconstruction. They should have started at Reconstruction, and instead of making it a half measure where they just rebuilt some of the buildings and just left us where we were at, they should have started by paying them quantified wages of those areas and plantations that they knew. Give them lump sums, give them things where they can be divvied up amongst the people who are there. That way, you can start and do it gradually. You know, kind of like when you win the lottery, you have a choice to either get a lump sum or you have the choice of just getting a certain amount every year, right? They could do it with that concept. Instead of blowing a whole ton of money on a lump sum, which is basically what they more or less have to do now because they have to quantify and codify all that, they could have started at Reconstruction back in the 1870s and slowly build from there, because then what would have happened if they would have had the extra capital? A lot of those black people wanted to work. They could have built their own areas. They could have created their own infrastructure. They could have created their own economy to the point where they would no longer even ask for reparations. We would be at a point now where we not only wouldn't need it, we wouldn't even want it, because we already have, been given our restitution. For the most, yes. Would certain people slip out of the cracks? Yes, of course. Because if you really wanted to do it right, you'd have to account for the ones that moved to Europe. You'd have to account for the ones who went elsewhere. You would have to account for the ones who ran away and were not documented. You would have to account for the ones that were never documented to begin with, because whoever the slave master was stupid and sloppy and just couldn't read. So the thing about it is that if they ran it through the pipeline from the beginning, the load would have been easier and they could have worked it off before they even got to us.
Keontae says education paid, business grants, home down payment, to name a few. That would be impactful in building. So here's the question.
And therapy. I do like that you said therapy.
I didn't even see the therapy part.
Well, he just popped that in.
Here's the question that I have to that.
Okay.
Are you saying that for every black person in the United States, like, where there has to be some set of either and or qualifications and or limits to that?
Where does the buck stop?
Yeah.
Well,
because you can't just do that. But also, how do you know that idea that you have is mutually agreed upon by enough people that we could actually present that in a format that will work? Because there's people that might not necessarily agree with your prioritization of those things. Right. That's why I say, to really quantify such a thing not only means that we have to figure out what makes you eligible, but what are you getting?
Yes.
And how much of it are you getting?
And some of it, okay, you said the census. The problem with the census is the biggest problem we've already been having with those $1,200 checks that they tried to do. There are certain people that have not taken the census. There are certain people that are not counted in the census. There are certain people that are dead that are on the census. There are certain people that they just not been accounted for one reason or another, either because they don't have an address, they don't have a phone number, they don't have an email address, they don't have anything that connects you, that can connect people to them and help them track them down. You know what I'm saying?
Does anybody else have any opinions that they want to add?
That would have to be monitored, and black people should be delegating that. I do agree with that. Black people should be delegating that, but the problem is who do we choose? Who watches the watchers? Because to be honest, there's a lot of agents that look just like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of I'm RIP, but there's a lot of Herman Cains in the world.
But with that though, right? Herman Cain, like I was saying, Ta-Nehisi Coates presented what he felt was a version of how reparations would work, and he was met by opposition. His primary opposition was another black man by the name of Coleman Hughes, a younger black man around our age or so.
Okay.
And the thing is that the initial thing I gathered from it is that, like, because black people aren't a monolith, because in our most idealistic versions of what we call solidarity doesn't really exist, we haven't even gotten to the place to really have a solid mutual agreement on things. One.
Absolutely.
Two, there has to be exceptions and limits.
Yes.
To prevent anarchy.
And see, this is the other thing said. Then it should be all who didn't recently immigrate, but how recent is recently?
So, right. And from that point, right?
Because how many of our black brothers and sisters are Caribbean immigrants? Or children of Caribbean immigrants, either second, third, maybe even fourth generation.
Tariq would love that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tariq would love that part of it, because all he talks about is foundational black Americans.
Yeah.
Which is literally the difference between those are our brothers and sisters who did come from the Caribbean, other places like that immigrated in that regard, versus the black people who were already here. Because we also got to remember, this is another thing about black people that we got to understand. And this really kicks my ass. Ooh. So we about to do that. What kicks my ass segment. I get bothered a little bit anytime I hear anything regarding Native Americans. And I'm going to tell you why. Because most of the time when I hear people talk about Native Americans, it's painted in almost this particular type of person who is of some sort of Native Indian to United States, like a Cherokee, a Navajo.
Right.
But if you know your history, you know that there were black people here too.
Yes.
There was already Africans who are now considered African Americans that were here that did not come on slave ships. And so there's plenty of those black people who existed.
The other thing about that is there are also black people, like the concept of black people claiming some measure of Native ancestry is not really as crazy as people think. And the reason being is because a lot of what would happen is a lot of black slaves would try to run, and when they would run away, they would go into the reservations. And because a lot of white people wouldn't go into the reservations, they could remain safe there. And in a lot of cases, they end up being inducted over being there over a certain amount of time. That person, or maybe their family, if there was a whole family, will eventually be adopted into the tribe, and eventually will also marry into the tribe at some point, either through them or their kids.
Y'all heard it all the time. Y'all know plenty of black people that say they got Indian in their immediate family, and they are not joking about that.
Now, along with that, with the Native Americans, you also got what they call them $5 Indians, because a lot of white folk caught on to that same concept, and they decided they was gonna hop on that wave too. See, the only reason they don't do that
for benefits.
Look, the only reason they don't try
protection.
That was pre-Rachel Dolezal. Look, she was out here trying to be a $5 Negro. So look, that's kind of hard. And considering that that's a little bit harder to do than it is for them to just put a couple feathers in their head and run around and say, well, you know, my dad and my great granddad, they did that. And honestly, the $5 Negroes you see are the ones that live in apartheid era Africa, who think that they're trying to reclaim land in South Africa. That's happening now.
We got a few comments in the chat. Jamie says, it still surprises me how people who's one of us will still sell us out.
Yes.
Right. And Keontae also says the world needs to pay anyway, not just the US. It wasn't just here. You're right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when we really look at the scope of what slavery has affected,
bruh, it hit the Caribbean before it hit us.
I used to be more mad at Obama. Still mad at him. I used to be mad at Obama because he paid out reparations to the Jews from the Holocaust, but he didn't pay every Jew. He paid the ones that were still around from that time period, the survivors. He paid the Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
So I had more sympathy in that regard because it made more sense, even though I still had a problem with it because I'm like, black culture, what the fuck?
But you know what it is. You know what it is.
Oh, for sure.
It was an easier Band-Aid to produce.
For sure.
Because think about it, that's 35 million in the course of what, 7 years, 10 years? No, 12 years. In the course of 12 years versus however many million, hundreds of million over the course of 400 years.
And yeah, you know, we got sellouts.
And also let's not forget, because I don't want to interrupt you, but let's also not forget the 100 years or so of Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Of post-Reconstruction.
Yeah.
Post-Reconstruction messed us all up for over 100 years, because that's literally 1865 to about 1969 to almost the 70s. That is a 100-year gap where black folk were free but still couldn't have none.
Right. And that's why I'm just like, man, when we talk about reparations, I need to know, like, we have to frame it in a way that it's logical enough and that it's possible enough that it can actually happen.
Yes.
Like, too many people be saying like the craziest shit. And it's like, we wonder why it ain't happening. It's not just happening because people just don't want to do it.
It's because also you're making them not want to do it because it don't make sense.
Right. Look, here's the thing. Either you want either You want either
Then Tulsa,
privilege
thank
of
you. Yes. Oh my God.
I mean, yes, that is something that's definitely more.
They ain't even got paid back.
They just did the 100 year for that, and Tulsa wasn't even the only place that got hit.
It was
Chicago
one
got
of the main
hit.
ones that was known.
Yeah, a few cities in Ohio got hit. A lot of the Midwest got hit by what essentially was bombings and those kind of massacres and stuff.
Around that same time,
Tulsa was the biggest because it had the most thriving community, and it was the one that was the most visible.
Around that same time, even Evansville, there are books. There's a book out that we had to check, that we had to read in school. You may have had to read it too. That was about this girl who was British born, and then she ended up meeting this guy who was Irish born, who was actually an Irish Catholic. And that was back in the 19-teens around here, when the KKK was still heavily active in Evansville. And they were not only coming for us, they was coming for the Irish Catholics. They were coming for the Anglican Church. They were coming for all of them.
And I know that's part of where, damn, I forgot what it's called.
I forgot what that monument is called.
What's that? It's like a little place. I can't think of what it is. It's around here.
It's not the Four Freedoms, is it?
I'm not for sure. There's a place that has some very racial significance around here. I know what you know. I know you know what I'm talking about.
I think.
Hey, y'all, be patient with me. I'm not from this area, so I don't know the ground history that much of it.
But if there are people here from this area, you have grandparents.
It's a significant place of racial importance, and it's around.
There's
here.
a couple. There's
I can't
a couple
think of the name
areas.
of it.
I know what you're talking about. It's where the African American Museum is as well. I think it's one place. There's a spot there was an area they used to call Beverly Heights. There was a group of kids that they used to call the Red Band Kids. There were different things like that. And a lot of that happened around my grandfather's era. He used to always talk about Beverly Heights and how a lot of those kids, you could go to that. They went to Lincoln High School, Lincoln Clark Douglas High School. My uncle does to this day still don't even like the premise. Jesus, Boonville, girl, why you bring up Boonville?
Still don't like the premise of me living in this area. Because while he didn't know the ground information, he knew the regional information to know, like, hey, that's where a lot of that stuff was still going on. A lot of the racial tension, the lynching and all of that stuff, like in Kentucky and this area and stuff was still going on until it finally ended. That's why this area
there's still a Grand Dragon that lives in Kentucky, not far from here in Henderson.
So a lot of people that aren't from this area but know of this area because of stuff like that, usually older people.
Yeah,
that's why a lot of people won't even come this far south. If y'all got any relatives up north that are older that have ever talked about any of that kind of stuff, then you know what I'm talking about. And Boomville, hell yeah. And some of that stuff I just peeped coming to the area.
The interesting thing about that is that even back in my grandfather's day, like I said, he graduated in '56. One big thing he talked about, which this will relate to some of y'all up north folks, is a lot of your parents, when y'all got your great grandparents or grandparents, when they got out of school, there were a lot of them that immigrated over to Maryville and to Gary to get into the steel mills straight out of graduation. Because you had a hiring the hiring process was crazy. It still is to this day. The best shot you have at getting in the steel mill is if you know somebody who used to work there and has a reputation.
The steel mill, the railroad, any of those kind of industrial jobs that came about like that.
Yes, Gary used to be a booming town full of black people that was really huge because of that industry. But because they relied on only one industry, once it started to fall off, the rest of the city fell off.
That's why like Chicago, Gary, Harvey, all up in there, we all damn near family because it's all right around the corner from each other. Maryville, all of that shit, Hammond, all of that shit.
Yes.
But
I still got some family in Chicago, in Detroit, in Hopkinsville as well, because that's where a lot of us come from on my grandfather's side. And he had a sister that went to Chicago, moved to Chicago, and then we still got a few relatives around there, around Detroit, various other areas,
all up around the lake and everything, South Bend, all up there and stuff.
All in place.
I used to tell people, I was like, man, I'm gonna tell y'all something. one of the observations I made a long time ago, I was just like, man, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all right now, Northern Indiana people are so different from Southern Indiana people. The culture of them is different. So like whenever I see people make jokes or make comments about Indiana and Hoosiers and stuff, I'm just like, man, you ain't never been to Indiana. Because one thing that you must know about Indiana is that the bottom southern half, in terms of how the people behave, the culture and everything, is different from how the northern side of Indiana is. And that's just how culturally diverse even Indiana as a place
that's absolutely
and it's
true.
kind of like that with Illinois too. Southern Illinois, everything like Springfield on down, unless you like in Champlain or somewhere, like a lot of Southern Illinois, Mount Carmel and all of those places, quite different from like Chicago or Peoria, Aurora, like quite different, like night and day. Like night and day.
It's true.
But
it's very true.
You know, in saying all that, bringing the conversation more back to the square, you know, there I feel like people should see a bit of progression in these things, because even though they might not be the monumental things that we want, like reparations and stuff,
it's a start.
It's a start somewhere.
It's
because
something
remember,
we can use to jump from.
Yes, they don't have to do these things.
No, they could just tell you no.
Like what makes y'all think that like they know we gonna have these comments about this shit?
Right.
They know we gonna be like, oh, that ain't shit. They know that. They stupid. Why wouldn't they know that? Of course. Of course they know that we aren't going to be satisfied.
It's done. A lot of it is done in order to discourage black separatism. If you notice, a lot of things culturally, a lot of things historically in America have been done in order to dissuade the black community as a whole from engaging in what I call black separatism. Which is basically the absolute opposite of intersectionality. And while there is on the surface nothing wrong with intersectionality, there is a lot wrong with intersectionality when it's done halfway. As in, there are too many half measures. There are far too many half measures. We are not equally yoked. There is no equity. There is a lot of things that have not been resolved within our own communities for us to be sitting there trying to hold hands and kumbaya with everybody else.
Listen, the same way
we got to get our stuff together.
I always say this, the same way that men and women are different, and there are ways in which society both benefits and hurts us both, is also that same dynamic that comes with race. The fact of the matter is that I want us to have opportunities, the equal opportunities.
Right.
That doesn't guarantee equal outcomes, though.
No.
And what do I mean by that? Just because we get these other things that may put us in a place where we feel that we're more inept to compete, right? More privileged, on a more level privileged playing field, right? Doesn't mean we're going to get the same outcomes from that that other walks of life have had, that we feel that we probably would have had if put in the same position. Which is why it matters how, once we quantify what the reparations would be, how we regulate it to then yield the highest benefit for us as a people. Because, like, you know, the most basic version of reparations that people talk about is getting a check. And the fact of the matter is, I can give you a check, don't mean you're going to do what you should or what's most beneficial for it. Same thing with the stimulus.
Exactly.
That's why the stimulus was problematic.
The biggest thing about it, the best example you can actually see of that you can literally see, is the way in which the federal government will give all these different states a certain amount of money in order to maintain things such as their health budget, certain things such as, well, their health care in general, and their infrastructures, different things like that. The states themselves still have autonomy over how that money is spent. Once the federal government passes the proverbial rock, it's on the states to do what they got to do. So you have to think about reparations in the same way. That's pretty much how they're talking about doing it. They're just going to pass the rock to someone else and then just give them the autonomy to do whatever they want with it. For all we know, they could screw that off on building some community center and just say, yeah, that's what we did. Here, be happy. Your kids can go there and do stuff. And then that's it.
I think.
And then they'll slap some famous black person's name on there, either from here or just MLK or somebody, or they'll make a street. Bruh. They'll do. It's once again, it's a half measure. It's right? Something to be like, okay, here we got some money from the government. Here you go. You know, okay, did we get anything? Yeah, you got this building. There you go. Look, I think I agree. That's why I have my suggestion. Keontae also said, I think the stimulus did its job, though. For people who were hurting, it was used for needs because they needed to. Yes, in some cases, yes. But in other cases, people screwed off that money, dog.
That's part of the reason why, that's literally part of the reason why it's been more than one stimulus. It's not just because, the whole, we still need to boost the economy.
You got to let the dollar circulate.
Yeah, part of the reason why we still need to boost the economy is because it didn't really do. Because basically what they did was they actually they've done several studies on it at this point, but they've actually realized that not in the way that they planned that they got the desired result. That's why they kept doing it.
Because
that's why it's kept happening. Because
you know what a lot of people actually did. And myself, I can say I'm kind of included in this.
This is part of the reason why they were arguing about even doing any more. Because they were like, well, wait a minute. This hasn't had exactly the type of benefit that we really needed it to have.
Because think about it this way. They give you a check with the intent of you doing what?
Spending it.
What do you think a lot of people actually did with it? They saved it. A lot of people did go out and just blow it, or they blew it on rent if they had it. A lot of us, especially a lot of us that was working, bro, we saved that. We saved because a lot of people were not spending money. A lot of people weren't buying stuff because they didn't have enough capital to buy stuff. So then when they got their money, look, some of them was like, okay, let me get on this Amazon real quick. Let me run up this check. And then certain others, like yours truly, I was like, oh, this is going straight to the savings. I'm not touching that for a minute. Because I'm still gonna make some money off my job. I'm still gonna work. I'm still gonna do what I need to do. It's gonna help with some bills over time, but I'm not about to run out here and buy something.
I think,
and that's the other thing. They didn't account on people being like, maybe I should be smart and save this because I don't know when I'm going to get another one. I don't know when I'm going to get another job. I'm still working on getting this thing done. Unemployment ain't kicked in. I still got to pay my rent and do all this other stuff. So I don't know when I'm going to be able to spend this on something at the stove,
But yeah, giving everyone a check is not going to bring lasting benefit and elevate us. Spending it on anything because businesses depend on us buying stuff, anything.
Exactly.
But here's the thing though, right? There are different,
they were trying to create a bubble economy.
It's one thing to support any particular business. It's another thing to support businesses that directly stimulate the economy. Those are not directly the same thing. Like you could go and buy a whole bunch you can go and buy a whole bunch of Nike, right?
Right.
To the industries that matter most to society, that's the point that they were getting at. Like, it wasn't that people were just buying stuff to be buying stuff. No, it was that people were buying things that didn't directly stimulate what is considered the economy, which is not all businesses. It is businesses that contribute to the growth of society directly. Nike isn't necessarily one of those businesses, but a corporation like transportation, for example, like industries, not just businesses, but industries that push the culture forward. Like when you need like oil, like gas in your car, like the things that if they change overnight, will destroy society.
Right.
Nike can go down right now and it will not destroy the economy.
Yeah.
But like if crude oil gets to a point where it's like $15, some shit like that happening, we're talking about things that will structurally cause problems, not stuff that might affect this particular company or that particular company. If everybody buying like PlayStation 5s or something, for example, that's not at the end of the day contributing to the greater economy's need to be sustained.
No, it is not.
Not in the same way that even something as simple as investing in BP, or even buying up all the tissue in Walmart,
right,
causing shortages of certain things, right? The things that are like necessities and stuff.
Things that are going to actually truly stimulate the economy and encourage.
I do like your idea though with the grants and stuff like that. But see, like I said, my thing is I'm in a position where I am very comfortable saying I don't know.
Right.
Because I don't know.
And there's nothing. And look, and the truth is, there's nothing wrong with saying you don't know. In fact, it's better to say that you don't know, so that way we can start putting our heads together, coming up with solutions, talking like we are right here.
Yeah, because my thing is that I think that like I think too many people got too many different ideas.
And now look, I was about to say that you got too many people that want to play like they know it all.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes. It ain't even too many cooks in the kitchen. It's too many people who think there's too many cooks in the kitchen that think they're a sous chef. And want to tell everybody how they gonna do something and don't know no bit of nothing.
I like that.
I'm just saying.
Everybody think this is Chop.
Look.
And this is Iron Chef.
Look.
Yeah.
Look, everybody wants to be an Umar Johnson.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
When really all you got is a bunch of Johnny Hoteps in there that really don't know nothing. That think that because they done bought two shawls. Look,
brother, listen to me.
What's up,
brother?
Kiki?
Where is your dashiki?
Look. Just because they done bought some capri, like 4 pairs of capri pants, 2 dashikis that they only wash twice a week.
An African medallion.
I
got one.
Yep, look, an African medallion and a couple Ankh earrings.
Well, you don't understand what the man is doing to us.
You don't understand because half that stuff was made in China. Shut up.
What I'm trying to articulate to your cerebrum.
Look, you know and then they read a couple words in a dictionary that they didn't underline so that way they can remember what to say whenever they got to say it. They think that they could tell you about the issues with the black community, the black infrastructure, and black society, and why you don't have all the answers, Sway. Well, guess what? You don't either.
Nope. And that's why we need to be able to. That's why I love what we do here with the podcast, because we invite y'all on because we want to talk with y'all. We want to hear opinions and stuff. Keontae, thank you for offering your opinions and everything. I appreciate it. You already know me and you going to talk about this off cam.
Look, because here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with not having all the answers.
Nope.
None of us have all the answers. And it's good to say that, bro, I don't really know. But here's a thought I got. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
No.
Instead of being like, this is the facts. This is the thing we have to do. And if you don't agree, then you're not black enough and you don't understand enough and you're just not reading and you're just not. You need to apply yourself, brother.
Y'all,
you just don't get it.
If y'all ever get into any conversations where somebody basically saying that you're not black enough to have an opinion on something pertaining to black people, please do not engage in discussion. Like, those conversations are not worth it. It's okay to disagree.
Right.
Shoot, me and Keontae disagreed in this conversation.
But you see,
that's okay.
But you see, you didn't like sit there and try to debate this man's whole livelihood.
Right. You don't make no, like, it be people coming to these conclusions. And y'all know I ain't wrong, because we see people have these arguments on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever, for lesser things. Like, stay away from those conversations, please, y'all.
Look, no tea, no shade. I seen a hotep on here sitting there trying to debase black women who put color in their hair because he said that in the Bible that it was a sign of them being unclean, even though he misread the freaking verse and only used one of them when there's actually a whole chapter's worth of talking about it when it was really when what he was talking about wasn't saying that you're unclean if you color your hair. It was that if you have blonde patches in your hair, that is one of the many symptoms of leprosy. It was literally a medical diagnosis in the Bible, and he was trying to use that as a weapon to say, if you dye your hair, then that means that you're unclean. You're an unclean creature. No, if you end up with white patches in your hair that turn your hair white, you could have leprosy.
Context is everything.
Thank you.
Especially y'all.
Jesus Christ,
read a book. When it comes to that particular book.
Oh my Lord.
Interpretations can go any which way, whatever.
Look, what was it you said? Spatial awareness. Having spatial awareness, contextual awareness, knowing what a freaking word means before you say it.
Yeah, because that's the thing, bro. In our culture,
that blows me, man.
I mean, this is really a societal thing, but we talking about Black culture tonight.
Right.
In Black culture, we do a lot of that. We do a lot of taking things out of context, and then these terms become whole ass other things. It's like people be recreating definitions of shit to fit their narrative.
Look, a lot of that comes from the concept that a lot of our forefathers, a lot of our elders, even a lot of elders who were preachers, did not have anything beyond an 8th grade education. And in a lot of reasons being is because a lot of the wordsmiths, a lot of the orators, a lot of the pastors, a lot of the preachers, a lot of the people who taught us things in the literary field only had an 8th grade education because most of them were farmers. Most of them were born from lower income families. I had a great uncle, like it was one of my granddaddy's brother-in-law, this man named Robert Mumford. This man was a preacher. He was a perfect example of this because I had a cousin who wanted to sit there and buy this man an annotated Bible or something. And then his mama gonna say, he don't know how to read. He's like, yes, he does. No, he doesn't. He knows the Bible left and right. He doesn't know how to read. Because you know what? Look. I'm gonna give y'all some game. You know what? A lot of those old Black preachers way back, and you can ask your grandparents for a reference to this. A lot of the ones that was born like almost in the 1890s or so, you know what a lot of them did? They didn't know how to read the Bible because they didn't know how to read, but they had it memorized. They had the whole entire book memorized, and they could tell you word for word where everything was. They could almost tell you page for page. And they would flip that book just to make everybody feel at ease. But the truth of the matter is they memorized it.
You know, I'm going to say this.
Look, so sometimes, you had to make up some words because you didn't understand. You had to do it in the context of what you understood. But since we now live in a society, live in a society where you can pick this thing up and you can go to Google and you can type in the word and it might lead you to either that word or a connecting word, or you can just go ahead and download a dictionary app. You can download a Bible app. You can download apps that will teach you stuff. I don't need to see none of y'all on Facebook misspelling words intentionally where the word that you misspell has more letters in it. There is no reason for you to be illiterate anymore when you have the tools to fix that.
And that's some of my argument.
Bro.
That's some of my argument.
Let me chill. My throat hurts.
That's some of my argument, though, bro, even with reparations.
Yes.
It is, we got to be honest, at least in this regard. Like, I, as a Black man in America in 2021, I am privileged in a way that my uncle wasn't.
Right.
And there's a level of respect that is entitled to that people. Too. That matters.
Right.
That matters.
It's a
difference. Most people are doing to me in this day and age is saying little shit I don't like.
Well, and that's not necessarily true. You do still deal with levels of discrimination. You still deal with levels of marginalization. It is just more covert. We still deal with the same amount of BS that they dealt with. It's just not as pronounced. It is covert now. You deal with what's called...
Fair point.
Look, you deal with what's called benevolent racism, what I like to call benevolent racism. You know what that is? They won't burn a cross outside of your house, but they'll always check your blood pressure whenever you go to the doctor. They'll always check you for diabetes whenever you get sick. They'll always check you for certain specific diseases that may apply to your demographic.
Let me fire back at you on that one, though. Right?
They'll also, here's a big one. Here's a big one. They'll over medicate Timmy down the street when he breaks his leg, but whenever your grandma is sick, they will under medicate her because they believe that black people are naturally more resistant towards disease. They are more resistant towards pain. So you'll notice a lot of older people will not get the adequate amount of pain medication.
But is that completely a one-to-one comparison?
Yes.
You think that's a one-to-one?
I'm not going to say it's necessarily a one-to-one comparison.
It ain't.
But it's prevalent enough to where it ruins
it matters.
Fact.
It does matter.
Because that's a commonly believed thing, even though it has been medically proven. It has been empirically studied and proven that you have more in common with who you live 5 doors down the street next to than somebody you phenotypically look like. A phenotype does not determine your resistance to pain.
No, it does not.
Your phenotype does not determine your biological resistance to various things.
And that's why.
But that's still something that is highly believed.
But you know what, though? And like you said, the education in that, it matters. Because, see, here's the thing. I think that all struggle in that regard, when we talk about the effects of racism and stuff, I think they all matter.
Yes.
But I personally do feel that there are degrees to certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that some things we probably, if you gathered about 100 black people and asked them what you think is worse, side A or side B, more people would probably lean toward the other side.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do, honestly, in most cases, with the difference between physical and emotional. It's not always that direct difference between the two. Absolutely. Because some things can be both, right?
No, nothing. One thing you learn, especially when you study psychology, because we do have to account for these things with experiments. Nothing is truly one-to-one. Why? Because there exists a little something that's called an extraneous variable, and those are things you always have to account
low-key
for.
Low-key callback.
Yep. And look, and that's the truth. It's
exceptions to the rules.
There are always exceptions.
And the generalizations.
Yes.
And the exception to the rule doesn't change the rule.
No.
It just states that there
exists.
are some anomalies among this majority.
And you're always going to have anomalies that exist.
Two things can be true at the same time while being opposite of each other.
Absolutely.
It's not always a direct contradiction.
Because here's my thing. One thing that was actually brought up by my own grandfather. He did not know until very recently that he had a history of heart disease in his family. And he found that out from an older relative who is still living.
We podding, so I had to drink some water.
But here's the interesting thing. Here's the kicker. And he brought this up. And, at first I thought he was tripping. But I'm like, you know what? You got a valid point. He's had the same doctor for 20 years. He's 83 right now. Woo. He just turned 83.
Shout out to him.
On the 5th.
Shout out to him.
Yes, sir.
Power.
Look, he's had the same doctor for 20 years. And he said, you know what's funny? I've been proclaimed as being healthy, in perfect health, and having this, not really having any of these other conditions for 20 years of having the same doctor. Why is it that at no point did you say anything about me having blockages in my veins? Why did you not say, why was there nothing said about the possibility of me needing a bypass until it came to the day where I woke up one day really early in the morning, had unusual pains in my chest, and then I went to the emergency room, took myself, and got checked, and they said, oh, you're going to need a bypass surgery. They had to bypass 5 veins and then put a stent in there. Thankfully, he went to the doctor instead of just toughing it out like in most cases he and various other older black men will do, because they're born as workers. They were molded in a culture that says You work through the pain. You work through whatever issues you going on. Look. Here's
sleep when you die.
Look. What's funny is when you talk to certain older black folks, especially older black men, and the first response they had, and I cued in on this because he said something. He was like, "Man, there was something bothering me one day." Look, and he was like, "You know what the first thing was?" He said when he realized something was bugging him and there was a deficiency. He didn't say, "Oh, take me to the hospital." He said, "Let's go to the drugstore."
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
I got an herbal remedy.
Think about that.
We gonna nurse this up real quick.
Think
I'm gonna be
about
all
that.
right.
Take me to the drugstore so I can get
exactly
what I need.
Yeah.
Don't call no ambulance that's gonna charge me $250.
I don't want to go to the doctor. I'm not doing this.
All they gonna do is run me up a check. All they gonna do is poke and prod at me.
Eddie Griffin had a joke about
all that stuff. It's the truth.
No, thank you. I will not get in that ambulance.
Yep. You know why? Because it's $250. That's a $250 ride there and back.
It's like nope.
Look, you want to know something funny? He went to one of the minute clinics. They told him to go to the hospital. Do you not know that they sent him a bill for almost $150 just because he went? Bro, look.
And if you ain't got insurance, because there's plenty of blacks uninsured, stuff like that, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
So, for my people who are pro-vax, for y'all friends and anybody in the comment section, truly understand the dynamics of what you're saying when you're trying to ridicule people, especially black people, because they don't want to take a vaccine. Keep that in mind. And I ain't anti-vax neither.
Look.
But I'm letting y'all know that.
But and you have to understand the cultural perspective. Contextualizing is big. We, like the people that suffered, the families that were related to the people that were involved in the Tuskegee experiments that also only happened about 100 years ago. Less than that, have only very recently been compensated. The people who were related to Henrietta Lacks, who was basically whose blood whose blood was used basically as a lab experiment with no compensation to the family. They are only just now being given any measure of recognition, let alone compensation. So yes, black folk got reasons to be wary of the government. Shoot, white folk got reasons to be wary of the government, and that ain't even 100 years old, because if you go back to the 60s, you could legally, well, not really legally, but you could do it. You could actually let your child get an ice pick lobotomy. And I said that, an ice pick, as in you could take them to a facility where they would shove an ice pick up your kid's brain and wiggle that mug around to deal with behavioral issues.
Because that's how they used to deal with mental health issues back in those times.
Yes. You ever wonder why one of the Kennedy kids, you ever wonder why the Kennedys started supporting the Special Olympics? They did that to one of their daughters. And she was in the Special Olympics. That's why they started supporting that.
Mental health is very important, y'all.
There are boomer age people, i.e. in their 50s and their 60s now, that suffered from that, and they can't even tell you who did it because they had memory loss as a result of it. There are whole documentaries about this. This stuff did not happen 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago.
There's a place here in town that did some of those practices.
Yes. There was a dude who was I forgot his name. I'm actually trying to find that, who was popularizing ice pick lobotomies, was doing it without a license, and no one knew that he didn't have a license until almost 20 years later when he skipped town. And he was going to various towns around the country. He was doing these things with no anesthetic, with no gloves, with no sanitization. He was doing them out in the public like it was a sideshow. People was bringing their kids there. Y'all remember
Lovecraft Country, right?
Look, bro.
Y'all know those episodes from Lovecraft Country.
Mm-hmm.
That was, man, this is gonna kill me because I can't.
Here it is.
Because it was a reference to that.
Here it is. It's a man named Walter Jackson Freeman II. He was doing ice pick lobotomies in the 60s and 70s. There
was also the guy that I think Lovecraft was referencing back in the 40s. They called it
the transorbital lobotomy.
Yep, that's it.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, there are a lot of people that were affected by that. Do you not know this man did not have a medical license to practice in most of the states that he did that in? And they didn't find that out until after he did it. There were some people that were taking their kids. There was a lady who took her 12-year-old stepson to get this procedure done to him because he jumped on his bed too much. Bro, look, a lot of stuff happened that got swept under the rug, and it wasn't even 100 years ago. There is a reason why black folk don't trust doctors.
That's why I'm saying, man, when we really talk about whatever,
I'm not judging it, but it's the truth.
Whatever we view reparations, I can't even, in my brain,
bro,
my brain can't even quantify it just because I'm like, there's so much.
Yes.
How do you decide what gets cut from that?
Look, there is a Look, even beyond that, because look, we
got to live in the real world, y'all.
I got to go into the medical aspect because these are things that I'm learning from my own folks. My granddaddy took care of his uncle because his uncle raised him like a son. The VA the VA is still kind of trash.
No,
but
yeah,
the VA used to be trash, very much so, to the point that when he had his uncle in a nursing home, it was an extra charge for them to shave that man. There was an extra charge for them to wash his clothes. It was an extra charge for them to do any sort of amenity or service that you would expect of an assisted living community. And this is way back in the day. I will say this was way before I was born, so it was at least 30 or 40 years ago. He had to furnish the wheelchair he was in. He had to furnish the razors that were used for him. He had to furnish the things that were done for him. He had to wash this man's clothes, even though he was in the facility. And because at that point, he was too mentally impaired to tell them that he used the bathroom or that he needed to use the bathroom, they let him sit there. They let him sit there, and they will do stuff like that.
They will.
There's reason. Look, that's the reason why he wilding right now, because he had those experiences from the outside looking in. So now he has that distrust.
Hey,
you got to realize,
Keontae, I definitely agree with you in that regard.
Generational
the therapy.
People need
if
therapy.
There was one thing, I'm just like, that's it, no matter what. Period.
I agree 100%.
Therapy.
If they don't give us no money, they better give us also therapy.
I have this opinion. And I have this opinion just about self-improvement in general.
Mm-hmm.
It always starts with the individual.
Yes.
From the individual, you work within the people within your given household.
Agree.
From within your household, you stretch further out to other people in your family.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to start with you, and it slowly grows outward and outward and outward like a Wi-Fi signal. Meaning that before reparations even gets to the national level,
yes,
we have to see some resemblance of that
on the local level.
On the local level,
yes.
I'm coughing right now.
Woo.
We gotta see
too heavy,
right? They trying to silence us. You gotta start with your own self. You know how that starts with your own self?
Mm-hmm.
Buying those black-owned products.
Yeah.
Then you get your family on board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then once you get them on board, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get them the education about what we trying to do. Because this also ties into generational wealth and stuff too. Because technically speaking, there's going to come a day and age, at least I think, there's going to come a day and age where reparations won't be a part of the conversation because it won't even matter anymore.
Yes.
Because I personally don't think it's going to happen.
Look. And the thing is, what people don't realize is the struggle itself is not the goal. We keep mistaking the struggle for the goal. People highlight the struggle, but then never get to the goal. The goal is to not need a singular thing from any of these people because we have what we need.
It'll be cool. Just like this. If anything, the opinion that you should have about Juneteenth being a national holiday is cool. And keep going. Right. Especially if you was already celebrating it, because in your mind it was already a holiday. I took off for Juneteenth because I had obligations and because I wasn't gonna miss that day for what it means to be black to me.
Exactly.
I didn't give a damn if somebody was like, "Oh,
look,
you gonna work today."
Look, that's another low key reference to another one, blackness and what it means to us.
Woo! Hey, we got the callbacks for days, y'all.
We have topics for
Listen
days.
to our old shit.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm just like, yo, I gotta be off on this day. This is for, like I said on Facebook, this is for me, this is for the community, this is for your people. This is
speak on it.
Our power. If you don't do anything on Juneteenth, whether that be alone or with your family, at least make sure that day you're thankful.
Yeah, Absolutely.
Like if there was ever any other day.
Dang, Keontae said I should have too. Thought about it a few weeks to take off. Ironic. Look, bro.
But see that's how you know though.
Prepare for next week.
Yes, prepare for next year. You know
the
what? The fact that you thought about it and you felt that inclined meant that you knew that it meant something to you.
I will say this: I have not taken off for Juneteenth before. I'm off for different reasons on Juneteenth, and it's more for family reasons. So that way I'm accessible. Oh yes, absolutely. But one thing I do say that I do every year. One thing I do every year, I always take my birthday off.
That's like my personal Juneteenth.
Oh yeah. Look, you know why? Because I ain't about to get yelled at. I'm not about to get debased. I'm not about to get disrespected. I'm not going to be about to get talked to a certain way on my day of birth. I did that one time.
I'm glad
I did that one time. And when it happened,
I'm glad you respect that.
Look, when it happened, bro, I was mad as a firecracker that day. I'm trying
it's a little off, but let me tell y'all something.
Dog, I ain't doing this again.
Listen, I know a lot of people in this day and age. I don't know if it's a millennial thing or what. We don't give a shit about our birthdays. And I need to remind y'all something that you should already know, but probably quite often forget. It's more than just a day. It is the anniversary of your life on this earth until proven otherwise. And we won't be able to prove it until proven otherwise. Regardless of what you believe, you don't truly know what happens after this. And for that reason and that reason alone, this may be limited, it may be not. But one thing's for certain. Out of all the other life that could have been, you are. That's a bar. Out of all the other life that could have been, think about the whole process of sex, reproduction, and all of that. Out of all the other lives that could have been, this is yours. And until proven otherwise, there ain't nothing better than this. We've seen too many people perish that we love and care about.
For no reason. Even if it was for a reason, it still hurts.
And either way, that for you to be able to still breathe is probably the greatest gift of all. If there was ever a day where that should matter to you, that's the day that it should matter to you.
Right. I will say this. The interesting thing is, what we also don't, one thing we do take for granted is that the concept of medical records and even knowing when your birthday is something that we should take seriously.
Because like people who don't.
I keep referencing my granddad. That's just because look, when you have that as a resource, when you have grandparents and your elders as a resource, it's something you can reference. Look, here's one thing. This man technically does not know when his birthday is. He doesn't know if it's May 5th or June 5th.
One of my aunts is like that.
Yep. Because the birth certificate says one, midwife said another. So that's the thing. There is no, some of your folks who were born in the late 30s and further back don't always have solid records of what their birthday is.
Basically, anybody that's like 55, 60 on up, there's a chance that they don't have accurate information regarding that. Because
that's only recent within the Black community. A lot of them were born in one-horse towns.
Technology.
A lot of our grandparents and great-grandparents were born in those one-horse towns where the only person who really knew when you was born was your midwife.
Places that don't even technically exist anymore too, y'all. That's another thing to think about.
Because the thing is, a lot of them were not birthed in hospitals. A lot of them were birthed in the home or in a little shack or something because they couldn't go to the hospital or because the hospital was 50 miles out and they needed that baby out now. So they had what were called midwives.
And that's what I mean when I talk about the privilege.
Yes.
When we talk about Black people, we shouldn't compare ourselves to white people or white culture. It's different. Yeah. It always will be.
Yes.
Only thing we share in common with them is that we humans. That's it.
Yeah.
Our whole life experience is different from theirs.
And that's okay. Look, that and even beyond that, comparative victimhood is something that should not be happening within the Black community.
At all.
I said it. Comparative victimhood is something that should not occur within the Black community because guess what? In the end of the day, if there's one thing that a lot of our ancestors understood a lot better than we do, even though we have the ability to communicate with each other way better, is that no matter what's going on, we're in the same boat because we're all Black.
Solidarity.
Yes.
We've gotten too caught up in individualism.
Yes.
You know, on one end, one moment we want to be a monolith. The next minute we want to, or we don't want to be a monolith. The next minute we talking solidarity.
The next minute we're on that the next minute a lot of us are on that Me, My, Four, No More tour, where that's basically you, your family, you and your family, and that's it. You know, It's just us against the world. It's like, okay, yeah, but that's cool, but dog, your community's still there too.
And I'm gonna tell y'all, you're gonna have some black people that won't be celebrating Juneteenth. Purposely.
Yes.
Intentionally.
Yes.
You will have some black people that's just like, oh, well, I ain't grow up this way. And that's okay.
That's you.
Let them be them.
Yeah, that's you. It's okay.
Be you, you do you. And if some of y'all in the comment section, that's cool too.
That's fine.
It is what it is. But I tell y'all what, my black ass gonna be out there this Saturday. Yep. And y'all know we ain't famous yet, so I'm gonna say what the fuck I want.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be very proud of it. Has that been my entire life? No. Has it been my life since I've been of knowing? Yes.
And there is nothing wrong.
No.
There's nothing wrong with change. There's nothing wrong with redefining your life. And sometimes that's an issue with us because a lot of us look at consistency on a different scale. And we believe that if you're not consistent, then you're not doing right. But sometimes you can be consistently wrong.
Yeah, and we got a problem with that very much in the culture. We have a huge problem with that amongst each other. Well, you didn't do that last year.
Right.
Well, you wasn't rocking this. You didn't go to the
and a lot
this
of
event. You didn't do that.
And once again, a lot of that stems from the long slew of half measures that were given to us, not only by white society, not only by the government, but even sometimes by our own folks, because they didn't have it. A lot of things that we suffer from in the black community come from chronic inconsistency, either inconsistency of the government, inconsistency of white people around us, inconsistency of our own people, inconsistency of our daddies, inconsistencies of our mamas, inconsistencies of our grandparents, aunties, uncles, whoever. There is an inconsistency that creates a deficiency that harms our. Hey, that's a bar. There's an inconsistency that causes a deficiency that harms our efficiency. That's true.
Hey,
that's a bar.
I'm a
that's a bar.
I'm a timestamp.
That's a bar.
Hey, as y'all can see, we are definitely with the shits tonight. We podding.
But for real, in all honesty, and a lot of us rely so much on either coddling our the next generation, or trying to prepare them for the next thing, or trying to save them from something. I'm gonna tell the truth.
If we're not coddling them, then we beating them down.
I'm gonna tell the truth about this.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of grandparents that we have, or how am I gonna say this? There's a lot of our mamas and daddies and aunties and uncles that ain't right because our grandparents tried way too hard to get them right, and didn't allow them the opportunity to just go out and chill somewhere where they had no choice but to get right. They kept taking them back.
And that's why I say
they wouldn't let them take the L. So now, and even in their older age, they still ain't got right. What you notice is a lot of people above our generation, our parents, are so image centered that it hurts.
And that's why I say there's a level of disadvantage, but there's also a level of privilege.
That's another reference. Generational curses. That's the most recent episode
that we have to acknowledge.
Yes,
you have to, because it's different in a sense. There are similarities, but remember, y'all, similarities and same
are not
sound very close.
They're close.
But no cigar.
A synonym is not an equal measure. A synonym is not an equal measure.
I was actually thinking about this morning, thinking about crafting a bar, literally based around that.
Yeah,
we get same and similar.
We get
confused in a sense sometimes, as if they mean directly the same thing.
Yeah, they don't.
But what you need to understand is that something that is similar has a difference.
Yes.
Something that is the same does not.
Yes.
Remember that. See now I feel like we having a
It's a word
Hey.
war. It's a word war. But in all seriousness, the reason I say this is because you notice that. Look, we can't pretend like it didn't come from somewhere. How did we get, like, think about it. How did we get from the hardworking, long grinding black man and black woman together in solidarity, doing what they got to do, not just doing it for the culture, doing it for their family, going hard until they, like, because there were black women that worked in the steel mill as well. There were black women who worked in the trenches as well. There were black women who did construction as well. So all of these people some of them was working together in the same place, making sure that everything was straight.
And the ones that weren't were at home.
Yes.
Keeping the household straight and making sure those kids
were protected and nurtured. Too. And look, so how did we get from that to the middle part where a lot of us grow up without daddies, grow up without mamas, grow up with grandpa and grandma being mama and daddy, growing up with auntie and uncle being mama and daddy.
He done said something. He said crack in prison.
It ain't just crack in prison.
We ain't even.
Look. We
gonna do that conversation.
That's another one. But
we gonna do it.
But you know what? Look, you know what another one is? Generational secrets. Family secrets.
You talking about like the closet hating and shit.
Not even closet hating. It's that too. But it's also the fact that you got another kid that live 5 miles down the way that's got the same name as you, that look kind of similar to you, that kind of look like your daddy and a couple of your uncles, and
nobody knew about it until 25 years later.
The only difference, look, bro, you just explained how my granddaddy met one of his brothers. Oh, that's literally that.
Bruh.
Look, and quote unquote nobody knew, but everybody else knew except for you. Mm-hmm. And you always had that lingering question.
Like, why is that?
Look, and here's the big ticket thing. Even when they die, no one acknowledges that.
Hey, because that's
no one acknowledges that.
I need y'all to know that.
That is heavy. It's crazy, but it's heavy. The dissolution of the black family was the first step to the dissolution of the black society.
Look, we I accidentally hit the unmute button. Listen, y'all.
I'm just saying.
Y'all gotta understand that.
Bro, it's heavy.
Look, when we talk about these dynamics, and eventually we're gonna have that conversation. When we
got way off subject.
Look, hey, it's all part of the culture, bro.
Oh yeah.
It's all part of the culture, and we celebrating the culture this weekend.
Yes, sir.
But we got to talk about some things within the culture in order for us to appropriate.
We got to get some things together.
Because eventually we're going to talk about those things too. Because I'm going to tell y'all, some of the issues that other groups were dealing with, other races were dealing with, we weren't.
Yep.
We weren't.
No.
We had our own problems, and we done talked about, both of us have talked about some of those problems within this pod.
Look, case in point, the opioid crisis did not apply to us. By and large, it does not apply to us. There are certain ones. Look, there are certain ones who did fall into that, but for the most part, that does not apply to us as black folk. Look. I interned at an addiction clinic. In all those rooms that I was in with people talking and everything, there was only one black former meth addict out of that whole set of groups. And there was at least 7.
Don't get me started.
Only
you know I got my
one.
You know I got my institution.
Look, only one. And that's what I'm saying. Stop trying to jump into fights that don't apply to you. Woo! Because black folks quick to do that. Stop jumping into fights that do not apply to you.
Clean your room. You got your own dirty ass room to clean up.
Yes.
Clean it up.
Yes.
Why are you worried about your cousin room, your sister room?
Because you know what? They ain't gonna clean your room. They gonna mess yours up.
Huh?
Because look.
Do your own work first
that's the
before
thing.
you go trying to do work in other people's places.
Look, and that's not saying anything against people who struggle with addiction. That's not saying anything against people who have these vices. If you have this vice, then by all means deal with it. But don't sit there trying to fix something that doesn't apply to you. If you don't have a crack addiction and you don't have a history in your family of crack addiction, stop trying to talk about it like it's a part of you.
Some of y'all might be listening to the pod at this point. Shout out to y'all who stuck with us. We got 7 people in here. It's been 2 hours.
Deep.
And you know, this is the culture. This is us.
Right.
So naturally, this is us. We live as fuck. But
look, let's put it this way.
It matters.
Let's put it this way.
It all matters.
Look, you're not gonna take heartburn medication for a headache. Okay? You're not gonna put something on your foot for athlete's foot on a patch of eczema. That doesn't make sense. That literally doesn't make sense. You are not treating anything. You're just putting something on. Look, and that goes into inclusivity. A lot of y'all gonna hate me today. Look, that goes into inclusivity because you got a lot of these folk who want to be woke and want to say that they're supporters and want to say they're allies that are rubbing salve on something that's not a wound. Saying, look, they're cutting their arms open and saying, I feel your pain, bro. I feel your pain. We can wear this Band-Aid together.
Cut your nose just to spite your face.
No, you don't. Stop pretending like you have some sort of empathy for something you don't understand. Look, here's the thing. If I'm not a woman, I can't tell you that I understand what it's like to be a woman, but I can support you. If I'm not a homosexual or I'm not a member of the LGBT community, I can't say, oh, I feel you, bro. No, I don't, because I don't understand that by virtue of not being a part of that. But I can still say that I support you for finding your way.
You can still respect.
I can respect you for the path that you have to walk.
You can understand the dynamics. You can do the research.
Yes.
But you can never truly relate.
There's always going to be there's always going to be what we say, extraneous variables that you're not going to understand by virtue of not experiencing it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, y'all. Listen, at the end of the day, the most important reason that we want to express to y'all, if we haven't already, why Juneteenth is as just as important as any other damn holiday you was choosing to celebrate before.
Absolutely.
Was because all of the stuff we just talked about, including stuff we didn't,
it applies to us.
All applies to us and applies to why we should be celebrating Juneteenth.
Yeah, so if you want to
why it does matter.
If you want to know,
it is progress
because it applies to us. The same way you see them acting up on July 4th, on the 4th of July, shooting off everything that isn't a gun and some things that are, wilding out, getting all together, getting decked out in red, white, and blue, everything until your eyes bleed, bro, clogging up all the highways and byways to where you can't get to the store on the 4th, even though it might already be closed anyway. That is them. It's because it applies to them. They can identify with that. The reason why a lot of them can be as patriotic as they can and you feel a disconnect when you try to be is because it doesn't apply to you the same way. Look, their mamas and daddies could come from Germany and Poland and come here and get a grant to farm or even build a business and be straight for the rest of their lives. We couldn't, bro. That doesn't apply to us.
I don't personally know too many black people that ever celebrated the 4th of July in a patriotic way.
Right.
Meaning that most of the black people I know who celebrate 4th of July, all they do is gather, eat, and eat. They might pop off fireworks.
Yeah. Some of them they just
that's it.
Look, honestly,
but you see whole ass other cultures with flat. Yeah, we just like to eat in the community of it, and usually people are off.
We just hang out.
So now you got something where you've been had something, but now other people are being forced to, at this point, to take notice that it exists
and that it applies.
There will be visibility from June. There is good that comes out of this, y'all.
Because here's the thing. One of the biggest things to do, what was it? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the whole entire world he didn't exist.
Yep, that's it. The usual suspects.
Yes. And
Kaiser Cersei.
Yes. Look. And you know what that really means? In a lot of ways, the biggest trick they ever pulled on us is convincing us that we didn't need to exist. That we don't need to exist in a way, shape, or form to that way, they have to recognize it. They have to recognize the pain and trauma that comes from slavery. They have to recognize the pain and trauma that comes from Jim Crow. They have to recognize the pain and trauma that came from redlining, that came from the Red Scare, when a lot of our black leaders got labeled as communist sympathizers because they were put in a room and asked a bunch of directed questions that no matter how they answered them, they would be wrong.
Yeah.
And those people got blacklisted. They were not able to get jobs. They were not able to make money. They were not able to provide for their families in the way that they were accustomed to. Hey. There was a lot of labor laws. There were a lot of housing laws. There were a lot of things. There were a lot of issues that happen even now. If you write your name and your name sounds too black and you try to apply to something, you might either get hit. You might not get called. You might get overlooked. Look, overqualification is one of the biggest things because some of the most overtly educated people, highly educated people in this country are black women. And you know what an issue is for them? Overqualification. I have an aunt with a degree that has had more temp jobs than you can count. Why? Because sometimes temp jobs are all you can get for that because they'll say that you're overqualified for something. Ageism factors into that.
Yeah.
A lot of these things where you are actually willing to do the work, and it has been proven empirically. It has been proven that if you offer opportunities of advancement within a job, people who are overqualified will stay. They're always, because the biggest thing that they say is they're worried about worker retention. You have a bigger issue with worker retention with an 18-year-old that wants to screw off and take off every day or do a bunch of no call, no shows within the first 3 months, who ain't qualified to walk and spit gum out at the same time, than you do for somebody who might have a college degree or a master's degree who just wants to get a job and provide for their family.
Facts.
Make it make sense, bro.
Look,
I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. But
as you can see, this is how passionate we are about this.
But once again, this is an opportunity for us to talk about the things that apply to us
and are the most important, because this is the thing, y'all. This is called the Black in a Minute podcast.
Yes.
So for anybody who was confused on whether there was any blackness or how much of that was going to be talked about, a lot. But also, we talk about general points because there are some things that are applied to people regardless.
Yeah.
But all of this, you getting through the black scope.
Yes.
2 black men.
It's a
running this shit.
It's a perspective. And look, we don't do the okie doke. We don't do pandering. We don't do none of that.
Nah.
We respect other groups and we respect their autonomy and we respect their ability to say and feel how they want to feel. But at the same time, we are not going to pander to them because that's not doing them any good.
So like I said
doing us no good either.
Like I said earlier, 2 things can be true at the same time without contradicting themselves, which is why the title is what it is.
Yes.
Because my deep down personal opinion is it's both.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is.
Am I mad? Nope.
No.
I'm not.
Because you have to look at the potential for it.
And will my black ass be out this Saturday?
Yep.
Buying from black-owned businesses.
Yep.
Performing for my fellow people.
Yep.
And enjoying the company of my fellow people.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Look, once again, our logo was made by a black person.
Woo! A black woman. Shout out to Gianna _Versace.
_Versace. Yes.
We'll have a link. Let me make sure
stuff. Look, bro, man. Let me make sure. Let me make sure she's still on Instagram because sometimes she be leaving. Hold on.
We will have relevant links. Don't worry though.
Sure. Yeah, she back. Okay, it's Gianna __ Versace.
Ooh, two underscores. But we gonna have links to it.
Yep.
For those of y'all who forget, if you need a logo design,
flyers. She's willing to work with you. She's willing to work with you. All you got to do is communicate to her what you need. You can
and she's for the culture.
Look, she's for the culture, and she ain't gonna tax you. She will work within your confines, of course, within reason, because folk got to make their bag.
Yes.
But at the same time, you will get your stuff in a timely manner.
And remember, black folk, just because the person's black, don't mean you can shortchange them.
Yes.
Pay them the same money you're gonna pay everybody else.
Speak that.
Okay.
Speak that.
But you know what though, we is gonna try to get the winding this down.
Give them the bag that they don't have to chase white folk for.
Right. because we have held y'all for a while.
Yeah, we have.
I know we've talked about a lot. We slightly went off subject in a way.
Slightly?
But we feel what I feel is relevant.
Hey.
Because all of this stuff encompasses our life and our freedoms.
Look, this is a door opening experience for us, where we can truly speak on certain things that apply directly to us. And I think that's something that's needed in our community.
Everything is Black culture.
Look, because to be real, look, when's the last time, other than talking about police brutality and something negative, that we have truly sat down and talked about something that applies to us candidly?
In a celebratory fashion,
or at least just in a functional fashion, where we don't feel like we're waiting to say we have to save our lives from something.
Hey, when y'all come out this Saturday, wear a mask. I don't give a damn if you vaccinated or not.
Just wear a mask. Look, because folks is nasty. They don't brush their teeth. They don't clean their mouths. They hawk and spit over everything.
There's kids everywhere.
They kids hawk and spit over everything. Folk is nasty. They don't wash their hands, dog. Sometimes they don't wipe.
Don't play that game.
Because look, why do you think they bought all that? Let me take my conspiracy hat off, but for real, why do you think they bought all that toilet paper? Some people don't wipe, bro. Protect yourself. Protect yourself.
But
look, that's all I'm saying.
Y'all, we gonna give y'all a few closing announcements, and then we're gonna let y'all go for the night. We appreciate everybody who stayed in. I mean, most of the people who came in tonight stayed in. Hey,
y'all solid. Now, can y'all give us some more solid likes?
Please share, because I mean the live stream gonna end, but people can still watch.
Oh yeah,
and people can still comment.
Look, hey, and this man over here, because if you wonder why your stuff always whenever you come back to the live streams, you actually have timestamps where you can pick and choose whatever. This man right here.
Hey, and I only do certain ones.
He be grinding.
I only do certain ones though, so don't get it twisted now.
Look. Hey, I'm just giving you your flowers while you have them, bro.
No, I appreciate it.
Look,
but for the live people, I need y'all to know this part of the conversation. Everybody don't get to see the live chat. No. Why is that? Because I want to encourage people to actually partake in the live discussions and not just talk with us.
We appreciate
talk at us, talk to each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. We want to emphasize community around here.
Speaking of such, for those who are actually on the Black in a Minute podcast group, Deontay Nelson actually asked a question that I did not see earlier. We're gonna have a discussion on that for answers. He said, so I finally got to sit and listen to episode 32. You need to check that out. And as always, you brothers got me thinking. And this episode brought me to this question. Which is scarier to you, being the one to start a negative cycle or being the first to break a negative cycle?
Woo! And if you want to join that conversation, join us on Facebook. The links will be in the chat. It's actually right at the top of the chat, and it's also in the description, because that's where we're going to talk about that at. Okay?
Also, if you see us out, look, both of us got these lovely QR codes. You ain't even got to type nothing. You can just open your camera and just scan it, and you can get everything that you need, bruh. We got what you need, bruh.
If you want to go to a baseball game this Saturday,
we got what you need, bruh.
100 years. Negro League Baseball. If you don't know what that references, because we didn't do a history lesson on that, that's a whole nother thing in itself. Woo! Definitely research, man. Google's your friend, bruh.
Google it.
My grandparents, hell, even my uncle and some of y'all grandparents and aunts and uncles, depending on how old y'all immediate family is, they didn't have Google. They didn't have tablets and laptops growing up.
Nope.
They didn't have the same access we do.
Nope.
That's a privilege that you get today. So please take advantage of these privileges.
Yes, indeed. Also, there's a show going on tomorrow for the summer series. I did mention that earlier. That is going to be on tomorrow. Doors open at 7. The show will start at 8.
Links in the description, y'all.
Link is in the description. 212 Main, right next to Zuki. We going to be on the rooftop. So if you hot, bring your water, bring your mask. I don't want y'all falling out, dog. That's going to make me scared, bro. Don't do that. It's too hot for all that. But anyway, we just want to formally say that we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We always appreciate y'all being on here. And please bring us more suggestions, because these suggestions are going to get addressed. Actually, really starting in July, a lot of these gonna get hammered out because we starting to get a list. So
the
list starting to get thick. So if you want to get in where you fit in, dog, you need to go ahead and submit that now.
Yeah, say something.
Because
most of y'all got our social media handles. If you don't, links to that at the top of the chat and in the description. Some of y'all know us personally. Most of y'all do right now.
Yeah.
So definitely hit us up if you got any suggestions. We're collecting them right now.
Absolutely.
So if you're wondering where your suggestion at, it's coming.
Oh, look, we got a list.
Don't worry.
Look, we have a dedicated list.
And there will be more people joining our discussions too. Don't get it twisted on that neither.
We're going to start getting guests.
People in person, and we will be doing probably like some Zoom style conferences.
Mm-hmm. Because because even though we provide you the black male perspective, we might need a black female perspective.
We
might need the black church perspective. We might need the black businessman perspective. We might
black
need
Republican perspective.
Woo, Jesus. We might need a lot of that. Look,
we might need the black trans perspective.
Yeah.
We might need it all.
Look, because these are things that we can't directly explain, and we ain't about to sit here and be Vlad TV or any of these other little networks.
We are not
or any of these folks who want to sit there and hotep away a lot of explanations. Okay, we're not gonna hotep explain things. We're not gonna mansplain things either. We're going to give you the perspective of what we want to talk about.
And what y'all want to hear as well.
If you really want to know why certain touchy subjects ain't been touched on, is because we want to do it the right way.
We ain't scared.
No, we ain't scared. We just want it done right.
And we ain't famous right now, so look, we can get away with as much, especially y'all know me, those of y'all who know me.
Look,
I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
That's why I've been telling y'all, don't cancel us yet, bro. We getting there.
Let us get to a point where we actually can be canceled. We still won't. Because this is organic right here. This is naturally occurring. But
if any of y'all cancel me, I know where some of y'all live.
Bruh. Look. See, I'm not even threatening folks, but you heard what he said. I would believe him. But once again, y'all,
I can find out.
Kiki like eyeballs.
Yup.
Boop, 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 boop. Canceling you right now, but damn.
Don't worry.
Hey,
if you're not the type of person that cancels people, it doesn't apply to you.
Hey, Javar said cancel you right now.
Why, bro?
Hey, yo, once again,
you can't say no. See, he think he okay because he got 11,000 cousins.
Oh, you already know. Hey,
he got a whole army.
Right.
He got a whole army out there.
It's like two Madisons in the chat right now.
Oh, I know. I ain't even surprised. That don't even surprise me. I don't think there's ever a situation where there's really one of y'all anywhere.
You barely can get away with one of them.
Look, I'm about to say, is there ever one of y'all anywhere?
Tread lightly.
I'm just being honest, dog. Look, I know.
Cause shoot, my family ain't here, so we ain't got time for none of that anyway.
You better uncancel.
Not you minding his business. But anyway, y'all, thank you once again for tuning in to us tonight. We went all around the world, Lord. But the main point that I want to leave y'all with is if you wasn't celebrating Juneteenth before, celebrate now. Don't celebrate because it's a national holiday.
Celebrate for your own reasons.
Celebrate because you know enough about your own culture to be happy to be a part of this culture.
And if not, use this as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Somebody's going to have to teach our kids about this stuff, and we can't count on the schools to do it.
Yes. If we want to break the generational curses, if you needed a starting point, start with this.
Look, bro. One thing I'm going to leave y'all with. I can't express how much it shocked me to realize how much Black history a lot of people my age didn't know about when I came out of school, bro.
I agree.
Like, look, and that's my thing, and that came from going to a Black ran private school. I didn't realize how blessed I was in that regard, being raised by Black parents, Black grandparents more specifically. Like, that's a thing, man. Understanding there's a lot of us who are Black but don't understand our own Blackness.
Yeah.
To that, at least on a cultural and historical standpoint, there are a lot of us who are deficient on that knowledge base. So yes, we need to. This is an opportunity for us to sit down at the cookout or whatever you want to do, even if it's a Zoom meeting, because some of y'all, Rona's still out here and it's still messing up people's lives. Look, we can talk.
Yeah, sit with your people
talk
and enjoy the community of it is,
we can talk.
I mean, think about it. Besides your own actual family, I know some of y'all can relate to this. Like, how often do you really get to be around a decent wealth of black folk?
People. Yeah,
a good black folk at that.
Absolutely.
But you know, that's all I really got to say regarding all this.
Seize the moment.
Seize the moment.
Look,
use this as an opportunity to break curses and teach your children, because from this point forward, don't get it twisted. There's only a matter of time before it actually is a part of the curriculum, and your kids and their kids will be learning about what we didn't.
Do remember this, and it's partially because I've been with my folks a lot, so I've been watching a lot of Westerns. There was literally a movie on there where it was a whole entire community that was basically against the concept of compulsory education because it was a town full of farmers. You got to think about it. They took a while to be okay with their own kids learning to read. What you think they gonna do with your kids wanting to learn their history?
It matters that they know who they are.
Yes.
And why they are.
Yes. And even with that, they tried to limit the scope of their own children to being stuck in the box of what they felt they should be. So what do you think they'll do to yours? Don't ever think that it's going to be different. If you want to look, this is something that you could quote it if you want. You better at me. But I told a friend this. I said, if you want to understand how a member of the out group will be treated, look at how they treat the least of their own. You'll know everything you need to know. If they treat the least of their own in a lower manner, in a disrespectful manner, in a very harmful manner, what do you think they'll do to you? They don't have a reason to be nice to you. But anyway, let's get off of here before we get we ain't monetized anyway. But let's go ahead before YouTube starts sending us emails. We love you. Peace out.
Power.